Chapter 1022 Two major events. Wang Wei walked into the throne room where Ao Shen was waiting. His face was still pale but better than the last time they saw each other. Wang Wei slowly sat down. What happened to make you in such a hurry? My people did something egregious and I wanted to apologize, replied Ao Shen before cupping his hand and bowing deeply. Wang Wei looked in the distance and uttered, I see. Where is the kid? Ao Shen waved his hand, and the captured Wang clan members appeared in the middle of the room. The young man looked at Ao Shen with eyes that wished to spew fire before bowing to Wang Wei. Patriarch. What's your name? The little one is Wang Shirong. Shirong? Scholar of Honor? That's an excellent name. Thank you, Patriarch, for the compliment, replied Wang Shirong, trying to control his emotions. Every Wang clan member knew of the legendary tale and accomplishments of the Patriarch. There is even debate on who is a better Patriarch and Emperor, the ancestor, Qiyuan, or the current Heavenly Emperor. To Shirong there is no debate that the Heavenly Emperor is better. However, people in the clan are so used to blindly worshipping the ancestor that this pointless conversation keeps going on. He knew how many bragging rights he would have after returning to the clan and telling these people he met the Patriarch, and the latter praised his name. How is your injury? Asked Wang Wei. Nothing serious. The scratches on his body had already healed, so there were no injuries, but he could not readily admit that. Why didn't you use the clan's name to save yourself? The Wang clan has started to send their members to different worlds as a form of training and tempering. These people won't receive a Tao protector and must rely on them. However, they are thought to use the clan's name and power in case of emergency. The only negative effect of doing so is receiving a lower evaluation unless the situation is truly unavoidable. I wanted to, but these demons did not give me an opportunity, he replied with gritted teeth. Luckily you're all right, nodded Wang Wei before glancing at Ao Shen. You only need to compensate the kid and the situation will be resolved. The proud dragon's heart skipped a beat as he would not believe these words. He had analyzed how the Tao opening sect operated and knew they would not care if their clan member was killed or even captured by another genius. However, they would not accept an older and more powerful cultivation capturing their own, especially for their clan's bloodline. Given how potent and supreme their bloodline has become, such an act is probably taboo to them. The Heavenly Emperor might not care about such a small event, but what about after he leaves? What if the Wang clan holds a grudge? What if they use this event in the future to attack or intervene in the affairs of the demon race? With all these things to consider, Ao Shen knew he could not solve this issue without the utmost satisfaction level for all parties. A space ring appeared in his palm and he handed it to the kid. This space ring contained many rare resources to develop the bloodline. Consider it compensation for what my people did. Wang Shirong did not immediately take the ring despite his excitement. He instead looked at Wang Wei and only took it after the latter nodded. He then bowed politely before leaving the throne room. He was smart enough to know when to exit and not participate in these grown-up affairs. Wang Wei watched this young human fiend gods departing back and secretly praised how smart this kid was. Your Majesty, this is to thank you for making resolving this problem so swift and easy, continued Ao Shen as he held a scroll in his hands. It flew to Wang Wei on the throne and he read the title, Merit Transition Method. I accept your kindness, nodded Wang Wei. Ao Shen bowed before leaving the room and teleported back to the north. He headed directly to his cultivation room and immediately activated the formation. Boom, boom, boom. He punched the walls repeatedly while his dragon roar echoed and bounded between the halls. He was not stupid and had figured it out. Most of the top emperor lineages had contacted him about the merit transition method, except for the Tao opening sect. So what did that mean? They already knew this event would happen or even orchestrated it. The feeling of losing control of his fate and being manipulated by a puppet was more terrible than eating shit. A few minutes later he finally calmed down. He had long known he needed strength to be able to control his fate, and this event only accentuated this fact to him. He walked out of the room as if nothing had happened and looked at the demon race's Chi Luck dragon. The spot was no longer there and Ao Shen exhaled. This is not over, thought Ao Shen. He needed to take action and hide certain to prevent his bloodline hunting force from being discovered. He knew his visit to the court would raise eyebrows, and these people would begin to snoop to find out what had happened. He must ensure that the truth they will discover is that one of his people accidentally discovered a potent bloodline and wanted to dedicate it to him instead of the fact he had created a hunting team for that sole purpose. Lastly, he must also punish these 3 people for their dereliction of duty. Although he won't kill them for such a mistake, they won't live without punishment and demotion. Heavenly Court. Wang Wei was reading this technique, gaining deeper insight into the mechanism of heaven and earth. It would be more interesting if insurgents could transition to the Emperor path based on their strength, he thought. However, he knew such a thing was impossible because, in the classification of heavenly Tao, only the heaven and primordial path are on par with the Emperor path. It may not be completely impossible. Maybe in some other chaos worlds, the laws of the world allow for such a transition, continued Wang Wei. The chaos universe was vast and few things were absolutely impossible. How long do I have to wait? Don't know exactly. Even you can't divine it? I only know it's around this time and there is a chance for failure. I see. In that case, let's take a small break. I've stayed in this place for too long. He changed his appearance before going on a small food tour around the world while taking in the changes in the world. This lasted for a month, and 3 days after he returned to the court, while he was sculpting Wu Hong's beautiful face with clay, the space in the distance twisted and someone fell out. He instinctively appeared and caught the body. Tong Ruobing? She had passed out, her body full of injuries, and a weird black aura was intertwined with her. Be careful. That aura is very corruptive, warned the clone as he appeared. With a wave of his hand, he encased the body in a white protective shield that resembled a bubble. Her existence has been injured just like me, commented Wang Wei as he noticed the difference. Indeed, nodded the clone as he proceeded to heal her. He first sealed the dark aura before removing it. He felt an intense resistance and had no choice but to activate his full power before succeeding. Here. He handed the sealed aura to the main body before healing her. A few minutes later, Tong Rubing's pale face opened her eyes. Where am I? She took a moment to notice her surroundings. So, I successfully escaped? Indeed, nodded Wang Wei. So what happened? Tong Ruobing opened her mouth before closing it, her brow furrowed deeply. What is it? My memory, it's fuzzy. You didn't see anything? No, I know I saw something. But it's like someone has altered my perception of the events. A look of horror flashed in her eyes. Who could do such a thing to an eternal emperor of her caliber? Wang Wei was deep in thought. Such information was actually useful. What exactly do you remember? Don't leave anything behind. Tong Rubing's mind was still fuzzy, so she took a moment to organize her thoughts. I first gathered information about the Abyss Gap from the Commerce Hub. Most of the information was basically useless, focusing on the great emperors who died trying to explore it. One piece was useful, though. A few individuals corroded by the same aura from the gap have been found in a few Heavenwell worlds. Wang Wei squinted his eyes because he had a similar encounter with a small sect on the eastern continent. After that, continued Tong Ruobing, I headed to my destination and immediately used your talisman. She paused before giving him a look. Had she not experienced the dream world and his true power, she would have been enamored with that talisman. Don't look at me like that. I could not give you the power I had in the dream world because it was temporary, not my own, admitted Wang Wei frankly. I understand, said Tong Ruobing softly before continuing. It took me a while to bypass the seals without affecting them. But immediately afterward If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1023 Trophy. I heard the sound of chanting. No, maybe it was praying, continued Tong Ruobing, her brows still furrowed. I fought with someone or a group of people. They were powerful but still not a match for me. She paused as she tried to scan her fuzzy memory, relying more on her feelings and intuition to piece together what had happened. After defeating them, I believed I tried to capture them but didn't know whether I succeeded. Afterward, I think I saw a formation, a very powerful one. When I was trying to investigate, I met someone or something. The sensation of meeting was unpleasant. I don't know how to describe it. Like you were losing your mind, even going insane? Exactly, nodded Tong Ruobing. It was like I was staring at something I should not have, like I was staring at a taboo. She looked him directly in the eyes. Do you know what's going on? Some inkling, nodded Wang Wei but did not say any more. What else? That thing attacked me, continued Tong Ruobing after realizing she would not get any more information. I was powerless to resist and had to run away. But despite my best effort, I ended up in this shape. Tong Ruobing sighed. Her existence was injured, and her situation was even worse than Wang Wei as her powers had fallen below the Emperor realm. Her current strength was barely enough to fight a Dao ancestor. The fact you survived in such a terrible shape indicates the threat of the abyss gap is Empyrean tier, analyzed Wang Wei, who finally had proof there were other threats to him in the lower dimension besides Old Man Nether. It has not reached the Paragon tier. Otherwise you wouldn't have a chance to leave. Plus, true heavenly Tao will not tolerate any paragons from existing in the lower dimension. With this news he was satisfied with Tong Rubing's efforts. He has yet to decide whether he will only place a seal or utterly deal with the problem. But once he makes a decision he will be more prepared to deal with the problem of the abyss gap. So, are we good? Asked Tong Ruobing. Yes, nodded Wang Wei before raising his hand to summon a black and white seed. This is a unique yin-yang seed. Use it as a medium for dual cultivation with Mu Lei, and it will accelerate the rate at which your injury is healed. Such a thing exists? Tong Ruobing knew, existence injuries could not be cured easily. They usually require things like merit, world source, or a massive amount of chi luck to heal, and even then the process is extremely slow. I don't need to lie to you. This seed was the result of studying Madman Chu's inheritance. It's also why his injuries are healing so rapidly. Thank you, nodded Tong Ruobing as she carefully placed the seed away. Without hesitation, she activated a talisman that made her disappear with a swoosh. You should know dash, it's fine, said Wang Wei looking in the distance. He finished his clay sculpture before preserving it. Then he returned to his retreat. Beast Star World. Tong Rubing's pale and weak body appeared in a cultivation room, immediately grunting in pain. The teleportation process that was only slightly bumpy aggravated the situation of her body, albeit only the superfluous injuries. That's how weak she was. She had never felt this way before since she started cultivating. Even when she was severely wounded, the situation was different. Her current state was like she was suffering from a chronic illness and had been battling it for decades. Swish. Mu Lei appeared in the room. The origin of this chapter's debut can be traced to N0V3. Are you all right? He held her because he had a feeling she was on the verge of passing out. Since he knew her, Mu Lei had never seen her so weak and feeble. He led her to the cultivation cushion to rest. I'm fine. You should have listened to me. As Tao companions, isn't it normal to share woes and tribulations? Mu Lei felt the situation would not have been so terrible if he had gone instead. After all, he is a body refiner and more capable of surviving dangerous situations. At the very least they should have gone together. No, I'm glad I was stubborn. If you went, you might not return. Her husband might have had more vitality, but he did not have all the versatile means. So, if he went, even with Wang Wei's power, he might not have returned. Tong Ruobing did not remember exactly how she escaped that attack, but she knew her Tao was instrumental in the process. Mu Lei sighed. Was it worth it? It was. How was it worth it? He barked, raising his voice slightly. You're in such a terrible state. He knew even if she killed herself and revived, which is sometimes a better choice, it would not help the state of her injuries. It was for many reasons, explained Tong Ruobing. Firstly, I was able to experience a higher level of my Tao. The talisman did just give her all of Wang Wei's ability in Tao. Instead, it boosted her Tao in other aspects to reach the strength of 99% Grand Tao Source. Honestly, Tong Ruobing felt it was a waste she did not have much time with the talisman so she could study it. Although she had already recorded its data, she felt it was insufficient. Secondly, I understand how vast the world is and how small I am. A cultivator's vision or how much they know about the world is crucial. It can help them plan their future, keep an open mind, and prevent them from being too arrogant, which is something that Tong Ruobing felt she needed. And it was not just her. All cultivators will develop some level of arrogance after proving the Tao. After all, their strength symbolizes they are the best of an entire generation. And in her case, it symbolizes her talent. I knew the realm of the Great Emperor was only the beginning, but it was after experiencing a higher level of power that I understood how weak I was. Tong Ruobing could not help but sigh. Finally, this is the real benefit I receive. She showed him two things, a mass of an eerie aura and a vial of dark blood. What are those? Asked Mu Lei as he felt an instinctive disgust from the depths of his soul as he looked at these two things. My trophies. Wang Wei let you keep these things? I didn't tell him. Why do you insist on playing with fire? Mu Lei could not help but roll his eyes. Do you think he doesn't know? Since he didn't mention it, then he agreed they were my trophy. Plus, that's not the only thing I didn't mention to him. What else is there? I think I'm the one who erased my memories, explained Tong Ruobing. At least, a part of it was my doing. Why? There is something in there I knew I should not No, dare not remember. Mu Lei shook his head as he sighed. The cultivation world is truly like climbing an endless mountain. When we were mortals, we wanted to prove the Tao, and after climbing that peak and enjoying the power and glory that comes with it, we discovered even taller peaks. Yes, and the worst part is we know other people have climbed those peaks and cannot use the excuse that it's impossible, agreed Tong Ruobing. So, what are you going to do with these things? I plan to turn the aura into a trump card. With its ability to corrupt the mind, it can be a great weapon if used correctly, explained Tong Ruobing. As for the blood? I don't know. My first instinct is to study and understand it, but my intuition tells me I'm dealing with something beyond my level. I'm glad you're not letting the benefits cloud your judgment. Tong Ruobing ignored him, focusing on the blood. It would be great if I could fuse the blood with my Proving Tao artifact and grant it the power of corruption. However, that's too dangerous. A Proving Tao artifact has too much connection to its owner, so Tong Ruobing was not stupid enough to place such a dangerous item close to hers. You can do some experiments, suggested Mu Lei. See how some life forms react to being contaminated. That's one of my plans. Tong Ruobing has even already been thinking about how she could dilate this blood. She put the blood and aura away in a secure location in her space ring, a place composed of trillions of sealing talismans. Then she summoned the black and white seed. What's this? Wang Wei's gift to help me heal. What can this do? Accelerate the healing process to my existence. Really? How do we use it? Tong Ruobing smiled at him. Let's just say you'll have a happy life for a long while. It took Mu Lei a moment to realize what she meant, then a big grin appeared on his handsome face. I guess I should thank Wang Wei instead of holding a grudge. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1024 Checking in 1,000 winters and summers flashed by, and the myriad emperor world entered a rapid but quiet development period. Meanwhile, Wang Wei finally opened his eyes from his cultivation room. He exhaled before clenching his hands, feeling the power coursing through his veins. Your injuries are almost healed, commented the clone. You probably don't need me anymore. Not necessarily, replied Wang Wei as he had almost returned to his peak. His current strength was the same as the clone. Normally he could display 50% Grand Tao Source, and in an emergency he could use his full power. Wang Wei tried one last time to activate all his stacked boosts. However, like before, he felt his body crumbling once his power exceeded 50%. This last bit of injury is like a bone stuck in my throat, refusing to budge, he groaned. In the past 1,000 years, which was astronomically longer for him due to time formation, he did not only focus on healing. He learned more about Madman Chu's inheritance, increased his profession Daos, and raised his body refining realm to 90 infant fiend god's realm. His body was currently even more resistant to all kinds of attacks, including conceptual ones, and he could fight an emperor with 30% Grand Tao Source relying solely on his body. Wang Wei was very happy with his progress despite using all the great emperors with body refining cultivation from the Tao burial ground. Primordial Desolate was still not refined, meaning he still had room to improve after using the latter and might even enter the next stage of the true power Tao realm Dragon Phoenix realm. Existence injuries are like incurable and chronic illnesses for immortal cultivators. So, it's understandable you couldn't heal so quickly, stated the clone, and Wang Wei agreed with this comparison despite being a simple way to explain a complex situation. We have work to do, so let's get started, he stated before waving his hand to place the clone away. It was still useful and would not be terminated. For example, the latter could be sacrificed in a dangerous situation to boost his strength. If that is never required, Wang Wei will use him as a basis to create a clone for the sect. Something tells him it won't be easy to leave a clone for the sect since no other Eternals have done it, but he will try. He took a moment to scan the world and register the changes. One minor and one major event that needed his attention occurred in this short period. The minor event is that mortals have developed the concept of arts and crafts families. For example, there is the Fu clan, known for cultivating powerful scholars in the last 1,000 years. There is the O clan, known for its blacksmith and spiritual runes. These mortals banded together to create powerful families that could access the enlightening temple, thus ensuring their power and rights. As a result, they are very selective in who they marry. Additionally, Wang Wei noticed they had developed the trend of not caring about cultivation. If someone in their family is born with a leakless body, they will nurture this person, but he will not become the central focus of the clan. They view such an individual as more of a guardian for their family, using their long lifespan to the benefit of the clan. Wang Wei calmly observed this change but did not comment or intervene. Like all things, there are both positives and negatives to this change. So far, mainly the positive has appeared, so he will let it develop. As for the major event, the sea race has cultivated an immortal sovereign. This event was shocking because the world finally saw the potential and threat of the sea race. Once they banded together and used all the resources of their race, it was very easy for them to train an immortal sovereign, and with such speed. They finally understood why the Heavenly Emperor was adamant about keeping a watch on the sea race and the unimaginable resources that the ocean contained. So, these people rushed to the sea with greater fervor. Although the surface world was also booming with resources after the environmental changes, no one would say no to more. Wang Wei watched all of this with calm eyes. He knew more than these people, like the sea race, could have cultivated a second immortal sovereign, which was their original intention. However, after seeing the world's reaction to the first, they stopped this idea and hid their presence like always. Wang Wei then checked on Wu Ming. In the southern section of the court, he saw a legion of men and women with bodies full of tattoos or symbols. As they trained, the tattoos would glow, allowing some of them to release power behind their cultivation realm. Finally succeeded, huh? After consulting Tong Rubing's clone, aid from the Dao opening sect, and even Yen Liling's input, Wu Ming finally created the totem warrior path. These people were linked to a powerful emperor formation in the court and could borrow its power. Wang Wei nodded in approval at the final result. According to their agreement, this new profession would not be released to the public yet. He will give the Wu clan time to use this method to increase their strength and foundation. He sent Wu Ming a message through divine sense to praise him for his hard work before checking on his sect and family. His family's situation has not changed much. His grandfather was still training like a madman, preparing for his battle against Emperor Nine's sons. During the past year, the clone finally refined a unique Dao source seed for his father. The seed created an inner world that accelerated the growth of his human fiend god bloodline. His grandfather aims to reach more than 70 infant fiend god force and use his flesh to fight with Emperor Nine's sons. His father was still enjoying himself in the swordsmanship world, only sending a projection once in a while to see his mother. That bastard even forgot to check on him. His mother was cultivating hard, preparing for the expansion of the court and her eventual ascension to immortality. Yen Liling was still helping the sect to create a more universal immortal rune applicable to all professions. However, Li Jun had exited his retreat and was spending time with his pregnant concubine and unborn child. The smile on his face showed he was both excited and worried about the upcoming challenge of fatherhood. Wang Wei felt a little bad because Yen Liling and Li Jun cannot yet prove the Dao since they need to first gather Qi Luck and Destiny from the Dream World List competition, which is still far away. However, he has already prepared as he sealed and took away the 9 demon god world, ready to refine and sacrifice them to heavenly Dao for more heaven will. Wang Wei's gaze shifted to Tai Gang. The latter was also a Dao ancestor and insurgent of first class as the clone refined a unique grand Dao source seed for him. His inner world contained a specially crafted river of fate, and he could use its strings in accordance with his vibration grand Dao source. Using Wang Wei's quantum string theory, he was a force to reckon with. Unfortunately for him, the rules of heaven and earth make it difficult to rely only on the inner world to become an eternal tier insurgent. Plus, the sect does not need a new eternal powerhouse, thus limiting his potential. One good news from Tai Gang is his undead legion has become even more fierce and powerful. Wang Wei then checked on Dong Lifan and his master. She spent most of her time training in the dream world and preparing for her eventual invasion of a weak heavenwell world. As for her master, she was still in the quasi-emperor world. Wang Wei did not plan to turn her into a Dao ancestor until the last moment before he left. He has a feeling his clone project might not work. As such, she will be his masterpiece. She will be the true guardian of the Dao opening sect, the one who will ensure they last an eternity in the lower dimension. The last person on his list was Miscellaneous One, who was almost buried with work. Luckily for him, the latter had Elder Dan to help him with the pills Wang Wei wanted. Sadly, his other projects did not have much progress. The Immortal Qi Gathering Array has not made much progress, but mainly because Miscellaneous One was a little obsessed with the sect's array. The project to perfectly fuse Wang Wei's fate-based array and the Deception Array into the other 9 was more complex than initially thought. Wang Wei looked at this but did not say anything. This challenge was helping Miscellaneous One increase his cultivation, so he did not stop the latter despite knowing the sect's formation was a long project that did not need to hurry. He teleported to above the sky and his voice spread throughout the world. All aspects of the world have considerably changed since the beginning of the era, except for one major part: our cultivation system. We need a new and improved system that reflects the current time, and today I will preach to the world to provide that last boost of change. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1025 New Origin System. All spiritual practice begins with breathing, and just like what you eat determines your growth and potential, so does the qi that any cultivators breathe. Qi is the. Wang Wei began his explanation of the origin system from the first tier, body tempering. He explained the optimal method to absorb innate qi and create the best possible blood qi. Of course, his explanation only went as far as the 9th layer. He let the factions deduce the 10th to 12th layer based on their sect's foundation. As a result of his preaching, once he finished explaining this realm, the knowledgeable people could tell the new system was between 50% to 5 times better than the former ones. Furthermore, the increase in lifespan was twice that of the previous system. The Divine Sea realm did not change much and acted similarly to the first tier. He explained the best way to condense origin qi. After this transformation, the energy used in this system could be called innate origin qi because of its high quality. Lastly, besides the Lake of Origin, River of Origin, and Ocean of Origin, he added a 4th stage to the Divine Sea realm, the Heaven Origin Ocean. Cultivators can open a 2nd Divine Sea in their middle dantian, storing even more energy. In this stage, their strength and lifespan also increased because of the nourishment of such a large quantity of qi. In the Divine Altar realm, innate origin qi from the lower dantian will be condensed into solid form as an altar. The body cannot bear 2 altars, so only one is condensed. However, it's possible to use a secret technique where a 2nd altar is temporarily condensed and detonated in the midst of battles. Wang Wei gave away this technique during this sermon, thus raising the overall battle prowess of level cultivators. Condensing the altar will no longer be simple in this new system. Wang Wei has ensured that all cultivators will experience a Tao heart trial called Whisper of the Mind. As the name implies, cultivators must resist tempting whispers while condensing their altars, tempering their will, state of mind, and Tao heart in the process. He did not want the world to give birth to any more pseudo-emperors, so the act of tempering the Tao heart had to start early. After condensing the altar and the subsequent divine veins, this realm is not over like in the old system. Wang Wei added a new stage called Tao Rhyme Nourishment. The myriad emperor world has given birth to many emperors in this generation. Thus, the world is full of their Tao rhymes. Cultivators will nourish their altar with the world's Tao rhyme in this stage, thus establishing a better foundation for comprehending the law. Cultivators can study ancient scriptures, sage notes, or wise man's philosophies to acquire Tao rhymes or resonate with heaven and earth. Wang Wei used the Emperor Tao World Spiritual Foundation System, the 4th stage of the Tao Declaration realm, to be precise. For the supernatural stage, Wang Wei did not change much. He believed this realm is what set apart the origin system with the manifestation of innate talents. In his system, cultivators will still condense their good fortune flame, but the number of origin patterns condensed as fuel for the flame is no longer 50 but 99. The increase in origin patterns makes the flame more potent and allows cultivators to use them in battle without affecting their foundation. In other battles in that realm will now involve the use of the good fortune flame. Wang Wei's decisions for this realm had some consequences. The increase in battle prowess drastically reduced the increase in lifespan. In the end, the new system had an increase of 10% in lifespan compared to the old system in the supernatural realm. The divine body probably had the most change as Wang Wei added 2 more stages besides human, earth, and earth. In the yellow stage, cultivators will nourish or baptize their bodies with their Tao rhymes to attune them to the laws of heaven and earth. In the profound stage, they will do the same for their sea of consciousness and their soul, which was opened in the previous realm. Another unique aspect of this stage is that it makes it easier for people to condense their vision, similar to those with physiques. Wang Wei completely reinvented the human stage, as he methodically explained how to temper the perfect divine body that can bear the power of law. He used his ancient desolate body refining scripture, the copper skin iron bone realm of the primordial system of ancient times, and many other martial arts systems as inspiration for this stage. His sermon emphasized the need to temper the body to its utmost state before proceeding to the earth stage. He only added his chakra opening method to this stage besides the former orifices. Furthermore, he also used some Buddhist methods to temper the mind and Tao heart, still trying to reduce the number of pseudo-emperors born in the world. Previously, Wang Wei wanted to leave this unique method to the sect. However, he considered the need for Buddhism's rise and prosperity in the future and added something to the system that is related to them, thus ensuring their influence and power. The heaven stage allowed cultivators to borrow the power of heaven and earth. It was divided into 9 layers, each increasing a cultivator's strength by a factor of 9. Now, with the new system, there were 27 layers, each increasing a person's strength by a factor of 6. The primordial spirit realm did not change much. They still had to experience the stages of Yin God, Yin Yang reversal, Yang God, shackle removal, and 3 immortal stages. However, with the previous Tao Rhyme baptism, the soul was more difficult to refine or temper, but it was also way more powerful. Additionally, he revealed a side technique that allowed cultivators in that realm to use their now very profound connection with heaven and earth to condense a soul treasure that was similar to a Tao-proven artifact. The soul treasure can be defensive or offensive and can grow with the cultivators throughout their journey. For the void-shattering realm, Wang Wei did not do much as there was no need. The new system focused heavily on raising a cultivator's affinity to the law, making it easier to wield and to the greatest effect. The primordial God and spiritual foundation systems significantly influenced him. He changed the order of heaven and earth, made the road of the heart more challenging, and had a greater tempering effect on the cultivator's Tao heart. He also added a method to fuse a person's vision with their law bodies or just ordinary bodies for those walking the true power Tao realm. Wang Wei added one more stage to the Saint realm called the Tao Self stage. After nurturing a Tao seed into a maturing tree and even ripening a Tao fruit, a cultivator will then fuse a small part of their primordial spirit into the fruit to give birth to a Tao Self, a small elf-like creature with the cultivator's appearance. The Tao Self, which was inspired by the Incarnation realm, Tier 8, of the spiritual foundation system, served the same purpose to increase a cultivator's control of the law. They no longer had to actively control it since their self can do it on a more instinctual level. As a result, saints in the new system will have domains larger than the previous limit of 1.269 trillion kilometers, but their power will be more potent as they have higher control over the law. They will now be genuinely absolute in their domain, especially when compared to other cultivation systems. The supreme realm did not change as cultivators must condense their Dharma bodies. However, Wang Wei copied his Dui realm for the quasi-emperor realm and had people condense their Dharma bodies before fusing with it. Additionally, cultivators will also fuse with their Tao self in the process. The quasi-emperors created in this system will have a level of control of the law between master and grandmaster control based on his force control skill. Once Wang Wei finished the sermon, he nodded in satisfaction. The new system was a drastic improvement from the former. Not only were cultivators more powerful, but their average lifespan increased from 5 to 10 million years to 50 to 100 million years. Of course, as the universe operates in balance, there are consequences. The new system is more difficult to cultivate and requires way more resources and time. The time needed for any generation to grow was drastically increased, almost reaching the level of immortal cultivation systems. Furthermore, this system could not be sustained without an innate environment. Wang Wei looked at the world, and his words echoed in everyone's ears. The next court meeting is 300 years from now. He disappeared from the sky as he had something else to do. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1026 Unparalleled Child Wang Wei appeared in a garden in Li Jun's Slaughter Mountain. He saw the latter embracing Su Ai while occasionally caressing her belly, which only had a slight curve. The atmosphere here between them was both infectious and nauseous, and Wang Wei felt an overwhelming sense of jealousy. Feelings of the past that he thought he had gotten over rushed into his mind. Wang Wei remembered how he felt when he saw Li Jun with all these women, and he was stuck with only one. Now, it was even worse because he had no one to hold while that bastard was preparing for the beautiful journey of fatherhood. It took all the restraint in his body not to beat Li Jun on the spot or curse him for ruining his happiness. "I'll remember this," thought Wang Wei before coughing, alerting the loving couple. Your Majesty," stuttered Su Ai. "Oh, you're here," said Li Jun as he turned around, still holding her in his arms. Wang Wei confirmed this bastard knew he was there and just wanted to make him jealous by the smirk on the corner of his mouth. He secretly gritted his teeth and rolled his eyes before focusing on Su Ai. You don't need to be nervous and restrained. I'm just an uncle checking on his nephew. Why? Yes. Li Jun held her tightly as a form of reassurance. How are your injuries? Fine. Just the last bit is persistent and needs more time. That's good, replied Li Jun before sighing deeply. What's wrong? In a time like this, I should be by your side to protect you. But no need to beat yourself for this. We will have plenty of opportunities to fight side by side in the future. Will we? Asked Li Jun, looking him directly in the eyes. Wang Wei looked at him and saw all his hopes and worries. There are few people I trust most in this world. So, trust me when I say I will not have anyone else look at my back other than you, and I hope you will feel the same. Of course I do. Then that's all that matters. The two hugged each other briefly before noticing Su Ai was crying. What's wrong, honey? Asked Li Jun. Nothing. I just thought this moment was beautiful and could not help but cry. It's okay as long as these are happy tears, reassured Li Jun. A few seconds later, he looked at his brother and asked, What do you think about my child? Wang Wei looked at Su Ai's belly, and his eyes soon glistened with a brilliant light. If raised correctly, he will be a monster with potential even greater than me. What makes you say that? I don't know what Hunger did, but when she baptized him with her Grand Tao source, she created an unparalleled foundation for him. As long as I, you, Liling, my father and mother, and the upcoming sex emperors baptize him again, he will be born with the acquired version of the innate source Grand Tao physique. Shao Tian dis physique. My son will be born with such a physique? Not exactly, corrected Wang Wei. His affinity with the law and the Tao will be so high that his comprehension will be on par with Shao Tiendi, if not even higher. Li Jun looked at his concubine's belly and did not know what to say. And that's not to mention his human fiend god bloodline, continued Wang Wei. With all these baptisms from eternal level powerhouses, its purity will be unparalleled if he chooses to awaken it. He's probably the only one after me to cultivate an orthodox and proper Ten Supremacy foundation. My child will be so talented, muttered Li Jun in shock, and he was not the only one. Su Ai could not stop smiling after hearing this. Her position in the Li clan was not ideal as Li Jun began to focus more heavily on the main wife Yan Liling, making the other concubines suffer to some extent. Luckily, she became pregnant with his first and only child. Now that she knew she was not only carrying a son but such a talented one, she knew her status in the clan was guaranteed. As soon as the smile appeared on Li Jun's face, it also disappeared. It may not be a good idea to be that talented. He knew that talent and potential did not equate to strength, and it was possible for someone to waste their talent just like Shao Tiendi. Then there are other issues in raising such a talented child. With the expansion of the heavenly era, the sect will have no issue regarding resources to raise such a child, but Li Jun worries about the concern of balance. As talented as his son will be, heaven and earth will find ways to balance it by making his cultivation journey more bumpy than others. And if you add the balance mechanism against the sect, the situation might be aggravated. Secondly, for his child to turn that way, he must spend a very long time in the womb, waiting for Kai Song, Jin Mengyao, and Dong Lifan to prove the Tao. He knew of the sect's future mode of operation that would require skipping many generations of battle, thus further delaying when this child would be born. Thirdly, he has to consider how the birth of such a talented child will affect his relationship with Yan Liling. Li Jun had a headache after thinking about this. Lastly, he was concerned for Su Ai. No ordinary woman or mortal bears the weight of destiny and karma of birthing such a talented individual. Will she be all right? Asked Li Jun. With the sex protection and a few precautions she will be, reassured Wang Wei. And you must remember that many things must go correctly for your child to be born with such potential. The future I saw is not set in stone. I understand, nodded Li Jun before walking Su Ai to the room to rest. Then he began drinking with Wang Wei. What's on your mind? Many things, replied Li Jun. Firstly, how do I raise this child so he won't waste his potential? You can use my method, replied Wang Wei nonchalantly, and Li Jun immediately knew what he meant. Sealed his son's talent and sent him to the lower realm and have him start from scratch, fighting for every inch of resources and struggling to ascend to each realm. Li Jun shook his head, feeling sorry for his future nephew. I still want my son to enjoy the benefits of being born in a powerful lineage. However, I can use your idea to temper his Tao heart. With a potent enough illusion formation, his son can live an entirely new life and temper his mind. You're too soft, sneered Wang Wei. He will only have children after becoming a true transcendent being, and so will Wu Hong probably. By then, Their children will truly be unparalleled monsters regarding talent. They might even be born as transcendent creatures. But, regardless of whether that's true, his son will experience cultivation, and it will be the harshest. As for his daughter, he will dote on her like the princess she will be. Her torment will have to originate from her mother, not him. Anyway, as I always say, my job is to be the fun uncle. Li Jun rolled his eyes. What should I do for my children with Liling? Wang Wei did not know how to answer him. This child was so special because of whatever Wu Hong's clone did to establish his foundation, not just the baptism of so many powerful eternal emperors. Otherwise, it would be very easy to cultivate such a talented individual in the upper dimension full of so many Eternals, Empyreans, and Paragons. My advice for you is to wait like me until you've achieved transcendence. Li Jun smiled wryly. You think too highly of us. You just think too lowly of yourself, countered Wang Wei. If you don't even dare think you'll have such an achievement, then you're doomed never to have a chance. That's true, nodded Li Jun, still thinking about the question. He wanted to ask whether the other Wu Hong knew something but stopped himself from bringing up this sensitive subject. Alright, let's go test your cultivation result, said Wang Wei, and Li Jun's mouth twitched. He knew he was about to pay retribution for his previous actions. As expected, he received a very painful beating during their fight. Luckily, he did receive genuine instructions and help. Wang Wei left satisfied. He set high goals for Li Jun. He wanted him to have great achievement in body refining and be like Di Tian, who cultivated a golden law tree with spots of purple. Li Jun needs to increase his lifespan, and with the combination of the future Buddha self, this objective can be achieved after years in seclusion inside a time formation. After leaving the sect, Wang Wei's next destination was one of the final forbidden lands of this world, the Swallowing Zone. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1027 The Swallowing Zone's Secret. Wang Wei headed directly to the Swallowing Zone. He did not hesitate to enter since he had already made all the necessary preparations. Since he did not hide his presence, he sensed the sights looking in his direction but did not care. The people of the world have acquiesced to the fact it was his responsibility to deal with these forbidden lands, and thus, the rewards or benefits also belonged to him. As soon as he entered, he sensed the terrifying swallowing or devouring power that wanted to swallow his flesh, blood, soul, and even his grand Tao source. He looked around and saw a world of endless darkness with scattered light spots resembling faraway stars in the night sky. Wang Wei observed his surroundings and swiftly noticed two things. Firstly, the swallowing power in this place was so intense that a normal eternal emperor would have their senses affected. However, that was the extent of this place's power. Secondly, this place had many seals to prevent the devouring power from reaching the myriad emperor world. Based on his observation, some of these seals were ancient, probably dating back to the Null Era if not before. He sensed something and headed in that direction. The closer he was to what he sensed, the more intense the power of devouring. However, by the time he reached the center, the devouring power was about 25 to 30% Grand Tao source, and Wang Wei knew why. Wang Wei detected a potent seal that would make him sweat even at his peak. In other words, this seal was enough to deal with him unless he used the illusory Pill Sutra. At the very center was a tree made of light, and it appeared to be growing an emaciated green apple. Wang Wei looked at it but did not immediately recognize it, so he directly divined the answer. However, he encountered some resistance. This thing's essence is higher than mine? He thought with shining eyes before activating all his powers. A vision of the river of fate manifested above him, along with the appearance of his 10 fate palaces. The Genesis fruit, he muttered. According to his calculations, this fruit was an Empyrean spirit herb that could morph into most resources of the same tier. Interesting ability, he thought, thinking how to use it. He could turn it into something that helps him open the gate of power. A second viable option would be to use it to wash away his karma. Wang Wei had noticed that his memories from primordial chaos after the events on Earth contained immense karma, hence why he has not directly removed his seal and accessed his memories. Instead, he chose to deal with the karma before proceeding slowly. His karma unbound physique has been crucial in the process, but the appropriate Empyrean spiritual herb would be very beneficial. No, the best way to use this thing is the major bottleneck between the Great Emperor and Empyrean realm. From what his ancestor Yan Hai said, even talented individuals like her and Wu Hong must spend a significant amount of time and effort trying to get through. He will face the same situation, especially if he wants to become an everlasting Empyrean. He could use merit to deal with the bottleneck, but that would take too much. It would be better to use the merit to continue to cultivate in the Empyrean realm. His chances of reaching more than 70% of the Grand Tao source would increase if he did not have to do so. If I want to enter the Empyrean realm before ascending, I cannot waste much time in this bottleneck. So, the best use of this fruit is in that direction. However, there is still a major issue: how to ripen it. Although it took some effort, Wang Wei was able to divine this tree's origin and history successfully. During the innate acquired war, true heavenly Tao was way more lenient regarding certain things or regulations. In other words, certain things that would never be tolerated today would be granted a pass during that period. Both the acquired and innate lives in the upper dimension took advantage of this opportunity and smuggled certain things into the lower dimension. Wang Wei even guessed this was how Old Man Nether had successfully sneaked into the lower dimension. The fruit was sent for one purpose: a terrible weapon of war. The lower dimension cannot cultivate such a powerful spiritual herb. As such, after being planted, it would swallow any world it was planted in to use as nutrients. And if not controlled properly, it would devour the entire lower dimension. The Myriad Emperor world was one of the 3 places of origin of the innate acquired war. So, the innate demon gods wanted it destroyed to demoralize the other side. Luckily, the human race learned of this news and thwarted this plan before sealing the fruit. Of course, as expected of humans, the tree brought problems to them. Many people wanted to eliminate such a dangerous thing immediately, while others believed they should use it instead. Although it was virtually impossible to cultivate the fruit to completion, taking an incomplete, imperfect, or unripened fruit would still significantly improve anyone. The discourse over this fruit reached the point that humans had to postpone making a decision. This was the best way to prevent possible division amongst the human or acquired lives. Then, most of the surviving great emperors and immortals were forcefully exiled to the upper dimension before they could decide. Years later, many emperors visited this place, including Qiyuan. However, after realizing it was impossible to ripen, he left his own seal and left this fortunate encounter for future generations. The human emperor came here and also left after placing his seal. Wang Wei guessed he might have a plan to get his hands on it later. Otherwise, dealing with the fruit was a great way to repay the karma he owed to the human race. In his divination, Wang Wei saw the Danyuan emperor come to this place and did not touch the fruit because of how rare such a spiritual herb was. Instead, he nourished it with his unique good fortune flame, making it slightly easier to cultivate than usual. The absolute beginning emperor and Wu Hong did not come here. They probably did not have the time. Emperor Kong also visited this place but only left a seal. Nothing more, nothing else. His mindset was probably similar to others. Seal it to prevent trouble and leave it this possible fortunate encounter for future capable people. Wang Wei was not too sure about this conclusion, as his analysis indicates Emperor Kong was the kind of person to remove this possible danger from the world. So, either the latter was too weak to do so or something else was at play. His divination was fuzzy on this area, most likely because it involved a living everlasting Empyrean. The last true eternal to come to this place was the heaven-devouring emperor, and this fruit is the source of his madness and why he wanted to swallow the world. His thinking was probably to sacrifice most of the world or most of its world source to the fruit and eat it unripe. Luckily he failed, but his actions did have some effects on the fruit. Of course, these Eternals were not the only ones who visited this place. Many pseudo-Eternals and a few immortal sovereigns also came and acted the same way, seal or try to use it for their own use. Wang Wei took a moment to plan how to cultivate this thing. He pointed his finger around to open a passage to the source chi space, releasing an immense amount of chi. Keeping these portals open took a lot of power, as the source chi space acted as a living entity and would actively close them. He did not use his chi flower ability as he felt the energy these things could provide was insufficient for the fruit, so he used more forceful means. The next step was to install 2 formations, a chi gathering array and a time formation. Once he finished, he saw the speed at which this Genesis fruit was ripening dramatically increased, but it was not enough. Should I feed it merit too? But Wang Wei soon shook his head, as this would defeat his original purpose, so he kept thinking of alternative methods. The fruit did not seem picky about what it used as energy. The best option would be to feed it a couple of immortal sovereigns, since they are of similar essence, tier 11. Secondly, I need a widespread power, easily gathered, and one I do not use much. As soon as he uttered these words, something came to his mind: dream power. It was very easy to gather the power of dreams from mortals and cultivators, meaning it had a large pool. Only Dong Lifin, the Eternal Dream Sect, and the Dream World also needed dream powers. However, The amount they used was insignificant compared to the population of the entire lower dimension. So, I only need to add a function of gathering more dream power to the dream world and feed this fruit with its power. Then hunt a few immortal sovereigns to use as fertilizer. Wang Wei was more looking forward to the expansion of the dream world after discovering another valuable use. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1028 Mini Battle I. After establishing everything, Wang Wei returned to the heavenly court. Everybody in the world was focusing on the new system, especially the Supreme, Holy, and Law lands. They knew the next court meeting was significant and wanted to increase their strength quickly. Sadly, 300 years was not long enough to have much effect. Wang Wei did not care about how they felt. He was focused on the fact the expansion of the court and the dream world was slower than expected and needed to speed things up. He headed directly to the core of the dream world and called Dong Lifan, consulting her on how to amass the power of dreams from people. In the cultivation world, virtually anything can be a source of power or strength, and dreams are no exception. Although it was rare for cultivators to dream since they spent most of their time in cultivation or replaced sleeping with meditation, they still dreamt. So, the two worked together to gather the power of dreams secretly from all sentient beings. The process was easier than expected due to the fact that 99% of people in the world used the dream world and had some form of connection with it one way or another. Once Wang Wei finished, he sent an invitation to a few people across the world and waited. In Lightning Emperor Academy, Lin Fan sat cross-legged on the ground before a simple white and gold grave. He held a gourd of wine in his left hand while his right caressed the engraved words on this tomb. In loving memory of Lin Huan, a blessed child taken away by this cruel world before her light could shine. Lin Fan looked at the tomb, not hiding the pain in his eyes. He rested his back on it while drinking, his mind filled with created memories of what his child would have been like, what gender it would have been, and what kind of activity they would have done together. He searched for this memory manipulation technique just for this occasion and even modified it when it was not potent enough. Usually he would use the dream world for such a thing, but he felt it was not intimate enough and chose this way. I know you would be here. Lin Fan paused after hearing the voice and slowly turned his head. Typically, he would be awed and fascinated by his wife's beauty. That has always been the case ever since they married, and such a reaction has not changed after thousands of years. However, he was not in the mood today. You wouldn't bother during this time unless something happened. What is it? Asked Lin Fan, his voice slightly breaking if you listen closely. Su Shi did not immediately answer as she looked at the tomb. She has few regrets in her life and has managed to work out the others. However, what happened that day was one of the few she could never let go of. She blames herself for not only what happened to her husband but the fate of that child. She often tried to convince herself not to take all the blame, that Suya was simply cruel by nature or Heavenly Tao treated them like puppets. But no matter what, she could not forget or forgive. It did not help that it was almost impossible to revive the child. It died before its soul, body, and world imprint was completed, and Suya used it as a sacrifice for a curse involving existence. So, 99% of methods could not revive it, including existence reconstruction. The only way they could think of was to travel back in time and prevent this event from happening. Sadly, true Heavenly Tao would never allow them to mess with the river of time with their current cultivation. This may be possible when they reach higher tiers, but as of now, the child can only remain non-existent. The battle you suggested is about to happen, finally said Su Shi after a few seconds of quiet. Oh, when? 10 years. So soon. Lin Fan wanted to use this new system and see how he could benefit from it. As a heaven chosen, he did not have to recultivate this system and could take the best parts for himself. It should be about time for you guys to ascend, analyzed Su Shi, and Lin Fan frowned. Do you think we will stay long enough to see the next court meeting? Probably not. Lin Fan sighed. He had so little time and so much to do. For a moment, he regretted his decision, thinking how he would be separated from his wife, family, and loved ones for a while after his ascension. He stood up from his position and faced the tomb. Lin Fan knelt as he placed incense before the tomb and took a moment of silence. Su Shi followed him and did the same. A few minutes later, the two disappeared. The world was in the midst of its rapid development when everyone received a notification from the dream world. A large event was about to occur in the battle tower as former Heaven Chosens were about to battle it in a tournament that anyone could watch. As soon as the news was released, 70% of the world's population stopped what they were doing and tuned in. Of the remaining 30%, a quarter of them were in deep retreat cultivating or refining pills, so they could not participate. The remaining 2/4 did not care for battles, and since this event would not drastically influence the world, at least not in this generation, they did not care to watch. Soon the battle began. Wang Wei chose a more tournament style instead of an all-out brawl. However, he did not place many restrictions on the battle, so they could fight as they wished, including using large armies with a limited amount of troops. The 7 participating individuals publicly took papers out of a box that randomly assigned their first battle opponent. The final results for the first round were Yang Guowei vs Jingwu Hua, Yin Zhen vs Zhen Biu, Lin Fan vs Jian Wushuang. Xiao Songxi was lucky to be qualified for the second round without any fights. The rules of this tournament were odd. At first, this will be a one-round knockout tournament, meaning only the victor of a match will proceed to the next round. However, after the winner of the tournament is decided, the remaining participants will have a chance to fight each other and use a point system to determine ranking. Besides the champion, every participant will have fought everyone else at least once. Then, the second and third place will have an opportunity to battle the champion for the first time or a rematch to reclaim the throne. The first match was soon broadcast and it was exciting. Yang Guowei demonstrated the versatility of his chromatic Dao. He used colors to their limit as he controlled anything that had a color to it. Yang Guowei used the symbolism, myths or legends associated with colors. In some ways, his Dao is a lesser form of creation Dao. Sadly, this did not change his fate of defeat. Jingwu Hua fought with an unparalleled vigor she had never displayed in her life. She was aggressive and passionate, which made her flame burn even brighter and with more destructive potency. Ultimately, she used the power of the Emperor Bone to its limit and beyond, winning the battle. As Wang Wei watched her winning smile, he could deduce some of this girl's psychology. She wanted to prove to herself and her father that her previous failures did not define her. With her newfound confidence and state of mind, she can prove the Tao and become an eternal, then help her father and the Golden Crow clan. The next battle was Yin Zhen vs Zhen Biu. This battle was also fierce and probably the people's favorite, primarily because of Zhen Biu. One of the 5 elements is the most common or widespread laws used in the cultivation world, and her pinnacle display of these laws was a crowd favorite as they learned much from her. Sadly, her opponent was Yin, a truly powerful body refiner. Before the match began, Wang Wei knew she would lose since Yin Zhen had already entered the infant fiend god force. Additionally, he seemed to have sublimated his zombie art as it was no longer too Yin focus. It was now more balanced. Of course, the battle was not easy for Yin General. Firstly, he was hiding his strength and did not go all out. Secondly, Zhen Biu successfully reverted the 5 elements into Yin-Yang Dao, increasing the power and versatility of her battles. Wang Wei was very satisfied with this battle and praised both of them. Yin Zhen continued to show the world he was a genuinely talented individual on the body refining path. Meanwhile, Zhen Biu took another step in development after successfully having 2 distinctive personalities. However, he could also tell the threat of Emperor 5 Heart was still looming over her head, thus preventing her Dao heart from being perfect. The final battle of the first round was Lin Fan against Jian Wushuang, which could be considered the main event. Many people focused on them, especially those who knew these two shared the same fate in their generation. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1029 Min Battle 2. Jian Wushuang looked at his opponent, his trusted white sword already in his hand. Throughout their generation, he could not remember when they had a meaningful or intense conversation or confrontation. Despite that, they had plenty in common. They were losers plagued by the cruelty of heavenly Tao and fate itself. "It seems we have much in common," said Jian Wushuang. "Maybe, but there is no need to bond over such a devastating and embarrassing failure," replied Lin Fan calmly. "You're right. In that case, let's begin." He rushed forward, going on the offensive. Heavenly Court. Wang Wei was watching this battle through the dream world like everybody else. When Lin Fan used his first technique, he squinted his eyes. His main Dao is time? No, it's a combination of Dao like mine. He combined time and lesser chaos, so time at the beginning of the universe? Interesting. Wang Wei could immediately tell the latter chose this Dao due to his unborn child, probably wishing to change the timeline and save them. Furthermore, it's evident that Lin Fan has not completely given up on his ambition to cultivate greater chaos Dao, but he has learned from his mistake and waited later on to change it, bypassing or lowering the requirement for the outlaw tria through this method. The battle was intense as early as it began. Lin Fan used his Chaos Time Dao, while Jian Wushuang used his Infinite Sword skills to counter. In every attack, Jian Wushuang could stab infinitely, slash infinitely, cut infinitely, or use any basic or advanced sword moves infinitely. As a swordsman, his attack was fierce and relentless. Adding the fact he had achieved the 12th realm of swordsmanship, Jian Wushuang showed he was one of this world's peerless swordsmen. Sadly, it was to no avail. Even with his peak 8 root strength and unique Pravin Dao artifact refined using his bones as the main material, Jian Wushuang lost the battle. A newly created acquired physique? Thought Wang Wei as he glanced at Lin Fan. Not bad, its potential is even higher than his former absolute chaos physique. Lin Fan had a natural affinity with chaos, so the new physique his wife, Su Shi, created for him was in that category. However, despite both having chaos as their main characteristics, they followed different paths. Su Shi followed the path of primordial chaos, which is a higher or evolved form of chaos. Meanwhile, Lin Fan followed the extreme path of chaos. He tempered and refined his power of chaos until it was on par with primordial chaos but without experiencing evolution or sublimation. The idea is similar to how normal Daos can be cultivated to be on par with outlaw or supreme outlaw Daos. As a result, his new physique could be called Ultimate Chaos Physique, the pinnacle of chaos that goes beyond absolute. After their battle, the next round immediately started. The first battle was Xiao Songshi against Yin Zhen, and the former patriarch of the Baishi clan lost. However, the result was not as miserable as many people expected it to be, as Xiao Songshi put up more of a fight than people expected. He changed his Dao from swallowing to a unique sacrifice Dao. The crux of this Dao is that the better the things he sacrifices, the more benefits or results he will receive. Xiao Songshi sacrificed his Baishi bloodline for a drastic boost in strength and, as a result, gave Yin Zhen some trouble. What an interesting and promising Dao, commented Wang Wei to himself before smiling. The Xi clan is about to suffer again. The next battle was lackluster. Zhen Biu did her best against Lin Fan but to no avail. However, it's understandable, given her opponent's strength and the fact her talent lies more on cultivation than battle. Then the final battle began, a clash between two titans Yin Zhen and Lin Fan. If not for how mythical Wang Wei's battle against Di Tian was, this fight would have had a lasting impact on the world and history. As soon as the fight started, Lin Fan did not hold back and showed the world his 9-extremity foundation. Only 4 root, muttered Wang Wei as his eyes shined with the power of fate. I see. He understood why Lin Fan did not achieve completion. He had to rush to cultivate to participate in this fight, which affected him. However, the most prominent reason is his flawed Dao heart. The death of his unborn child had a greater effect on him than he anticipated, and when it was time for the final fusion, such a flaw reduced his accomplishment. It's a shame, but there should be ways to remedy the situation in the upper dimension, thought Wang Wei as he focused on this battle. Yin Zhen was not outdone and showed his infant fiend god realm's achievements and strength on par with Dao ancestors. With his mighty body and willpower manifestation, he dominated most of the fight, making it appear that Lin Fan was about to lose until the latter pulled out his trump card. Lin Fan summoned the projection of a creature, an ancient, noble and powerful creature. A creature that existed at the beginning of chaos when everything was chaotic and empty. A creature more ancient, noble and powerful than fiend gods? Muttered Wang Wei with squinted eyes. He immediately activated all his powers to divine more information. Blood immediately began to fall from his eyes, mouth and the other orifices. Primordial demon gods. He only found a name but almost died in the process. Wang Wei exhaled as he swallowed a few pills to calm down and recuperate. Primordial demon gods, he repeated with some seriousness. Why do I feel this race has a deep connection with one of the taboos I've encountered? He groaned softly as he did not have much to go on. He focused on Lin Fan while muttering, more importantly, what's your connection to this ancient race that popped up out of nowhere? Many thoughts flashed through Wang Wei's mind as he analyzed the situation. Ultimately, he could only conclude one thing. Everyone in the universe is someone else's pawn. He was Fate's pawn, Di Tian was one of the Cardinal's pawns, and Lin Fan was probably the pawn of this ancient race. After accepting this fact, Wang Wei continued watching the battle. The final winner was Yin Zhen, who used a pseudo-true will to defeat Lin Fan. And the method he used was actually ingenious, even by Wang Wei's standard. Most body refiners do not use weapons since they believe their bodies are the most powerful. However, some do, and there are specific weapons for them like the blood-nourishing weapon, which is similar to the Proving Tao artifact. Yin Zhen cultivated a blood-nourishing weapon, allowing it to gain sentience and condense a soul. The weapon then cultivates the origin system, starting from the primordial spirit, and even enters the Dui realm by creating a unique soul made of weapon qi. Finally, Yin Zhen combined his willpower manifestation with his weapon's Dui realm, thus achieving a pseudo-true will. What a talented lad. He must have learned from my battle with Di Tian. Wang Wei was genuinely happy to see how the world improved because of his actions and previous efforts. In this mini-battle, all the Heaven Chosens have shown remarkable improvement, a direct result of using the Dream World's battle tower. If his weapon can prove the Tao, he can use a genuine true will. A weapon proving the Tao is not unusual, especially for a place like in the upper dimension. In fact, with a proper Grand Tao Source baptism, this weapon might need to prove the Tao and could sublimate its Di realm into a Tao will. However, such a method would have restrictions and lower its overall potential, so Wang Wei hoped Yin Zhen did things correctly. Once the champion was decided, the next round was the ranking round to determine the other ranking and who could challenge Yin General. The result was Lin Fan was second, Jian Wushang took third place, Zhen Biu came fourth, Jin Wuhua was fifth, Xiao Songxi stole the sixth spot, and Yang Guowei was at the bottom. Lin Fan declined the opportunity to challenge Yin Zhen a second time, but Jian Wushuang still chose to fight. Although he lost, he was satisfied with the experience and learning opportunity. As a swordsman, he had such an undaunting spirit. Wang Wei summoned the team and had a brief talk with them, telling them to prepare to leave in 3 days. Then he held Yin Zhen back as he conversed with him, sharing some of his ideas and understanding of fleshly body cultivation, willpower manifestation, and the use of true will. Emperor Enlightening Academy, Lin Fan sighed, I thought I could win the championship and asked him. But now it seems you have to ask. I told you to be more direct and he won't mind, replied Su Shi. I just don't want to owe him even more than I do. His previous plan was to ask what he wanted to know as a champion, using the information as the final prize. However, such an act lowered his seniority. However, with the current situation he was already a junior despite being from the same generation. I have to count on you again. I also want some closure, replied Su Shi while shaking her head. Without wasting time she rushed to the court. And, I wanted to write the Jian Wushuang vs Lin Fan's match, but after staring at a blank screen for a few hours I gave up. However, I do want to write a proper high-tier match for him, so it's probably going to be later in the story and most likely against Wang Tian. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1030 Hope, to what do I owe this visit? Asked Wang Wei, who was fishing but not in his small pond next to the garden. Instead, he was in a desolate star in his starry sky universe, and his fishing line had traveled millions of light years away, hooking a strange life form that could survive in the void. Please, don't tell me you came to complain because your husband did not win the competition, he teased. Is this how you see me in your mind? Asked Su Shi, almost rolling her eyes. She sat next to him and also began to fish. She was daring as she immediately went after the same fish. Love is a powerful thing. I know that's what I would do if I were you, said Wang Wei with a smirk. Their competition lasted for a few minutes before Wang Wei cheated without any remorse or shame. It's not like you to be this hesitant, he said. I just don't want to be disappointed by the answer, she replied. Would you feel better if you never know? No, false hope is even worse than the truth, replied Su Shi before sighing. Okay, tell me. You haven't asked anything, so how do I know what you want to know? Su Shi did not stop herself from rolling her eyes. You know I want to know about the unborn child. Is there a way to save them? Is it possible to revive him? Depends, replied Wang Wei. Can he accept this child if he recreated it with Creation Tao? We had this conversation and he was not willing. One of their plans was for Lin Fan to cultivate Good Fortune Tao before transitioning into Creation Tao as a means to revive the child. However, after many years of contemplating and talking to Xian, they concluded this was not what they wanted. Wang Wei thought for a moment and said, the world as we know it is more complex than what we see. Every major decision we make creates an alternate universe or timeline where our lives are entirely different based on that choice, the infinite trichiliocosm. Su Shi's eyes shone brilliantly as many things finally clicked in her mind. A few of her questions regarding the river of time were just answered, and that opened her mind to a new level of understanding of the universe. The concept of alternative timeline was not new to her as she had battled techniques to create them, but they were temporary. She never knew the world actually contained an infinite number of them. So, is there a timeline where the child was born and is healthy? She asked. Not just one of them. Su Shi's beautiful brow furrowed. What about our timeline? Is it not possible to change the past? Our timeline is special and is heavily protected by Grand Tao itself and other powers, explained Wang Wei. So, even after you become a paragon, which was the pinnacle of the cultivation world, the best you could do was take another version of the child from another timeline and bring it here. Wang Wei has only known one person or group of individuals who has changed the timeline, and that's his ancestor Qiyuan. However, to this day he did not know how the latter did it and what price he paid. So he did not tell her about that. What realm is Paragon? Asked Su Shi. She knew about Empyreans but not Paragons. It's the one after Empyreans. Is Paragon the end of cultivation? Are there no other realms after that? Continued Su Shi, and Wang Wei gave her a look. The path of cultivation is technically endless. Su Shi immediately understood the implications behind these words, and she felt more hopeful. She swiftly controlled her emotions and asked for more information. What realm has your ancestor reached? She asked. They are paragons. Her happiness and hope were immediately gone. She did not think she was any less talented or dedicated than these people. Yet after so long they are still paragons. This fact may not indicate their ability but the difficulty of the path afterward. You don't have to worry since we live in a great era, reassured Wang Wei after feeling her slightly agitated emotions. What do you mean? Our ancestors have opened a new way forward for us, albeit they paid a heavy price. Now, as long as we care for the pests in the upper dimension and they can return, the path forward will no longer be unknown or muddy. I understand and thank you. Wang Wei waved his hand to indicate it was nothing, and Su Shi soon left to tell Lin Fan this news. So, we need to go beyond the Paragon realm? He murmured, not even considering the first option. He wanted his child and nothing else. Yes. Although this path will not be easy, it's still hope. I am happy as long as there is a way, replied Lin Fan. Now that he has a direction or goal, that's all that matters. As for how difficult it was to reach that realm, he would do whatever was necessary as long as he knew it was possible. Do you think what he said about these people preventing the ancestors from returning to the world to be true? Asked Lin Fan. He was not stupid and guessed Wang Wei was using this opportunity to turn them into pawns or advance parties for his war against these people. His words might have some logic behind them, said Su Shi. What makes you say that? We don't know much about the upper dimension, but we do know how scary such a place would be with all these powerhouses. Now, how did 709 individuals take absolute control? Yes, if the ancestors disappeared, it could explain their rise in power, concluded Lin Fan. The situation might be more complicated than we thought? You mean the two sons? Wang Wei gave them a brief summary of the situation and promised to give them more detailed information after their return. Yes. The way he spoke about them was different from others. I remember his tone was both disdainful and wary. Do you think these two are people who have gone beyond the Paragon realm? The crux of this rebellion is them? Su Shi's silence told Lin Fan what she thought. In that case, the situation will be more complicated than we thought, he groaned. You need to be careful, said Su Shi. And if something happens, contact me and I will ascend. Don't worry, I will be fine. He was determined never to ask her for help. If the situation is as they analyzed, she will be way safer in the lower dimension until Wang Wei ascends. By then, her strength should have drastically increased, thus also improving her chances of survival. Su Shi could tell what he was thinking and could only sigh to herself. They only had 3 days to themselves and must make the best of the situation. 3 days later, Heavenly Court. Wang Wei looked at the immortal venerable before him. I have explained everything. Do you have any questions? No, Patriarch. I won't fail in this mission, replied Wang Qi. Remember, keep a low profile and only do what you're instructed to. I will. Wang Wei and Wang Qi walked out of the room where everybody else was waiting. Are you ready? Asked Wang Wei and they nodded. Wang Qi put everything inside a special space ring made from the power of the Tao burial ground. He also surrounded himself with that treasure's power as he disappeared from the court. Once he opened his eyes, he was in an unknown location. He immediately checked around. No vision, so this space ring worked, he muttered. He exhaled deeply, immediately feeling lighter. No, he felt better than he had ever in his life. It was like he was always carrying a heavy burden that was suddenly lifted. He had had problems with his visions for so long and had acquired brand new glasses. What kind of energy was in this environment? It's so intoxicating. Wang Qi took a breath to control himself and not get lost in the comfort of this world. He did as he was instructed to gather as much information from the nearest populated place before heading to the designated location. The process took more than a week despite his ability to tear open space and the talisman the patriarch gave him. That's how vast this world was. Of course, his situation was unique as he was instructed not to use any official transmission array from any city. At his destination, Wang Qi left a communication mark before staying in a hotel. The next day when he opened his eyes, he discovered he was in an unknown location and was immediately worried. He did not sense or detect when these people took him away from his inn, which greatly scared him. Luckily, they soon proved their identity through the secret codes and marks the patriot gave him, so he handed these heaven chosen. Pei Lang held a piece of paper with information on it while old Ma was on the screen opposite him. When that kid said he was sending us talented individuals, I did not expect they were on that level, said the old man with a wide grin. An extremely talented pure body refiner, a 9-extremity foundation with a physique better than the absolute chaos physique, an unparalleled swordsman of the ultimate sword path, a Taoist priest with a dual personality, one of which is a pure heart. His eyes were about to shoot fire. Even the others are uniquely talented in their own right. Pei Lang groaned softly. You only focus on their talent but haven't mentioned the trouble with their background? All these people have Paragon tier lineage behind them except for Lin Fan and Yang Guowei. Although these lineages have closed off their mountain, they will still be interested in these talents once they've learned of them. Didn't we already expect this? Rebutted old man. Anyways, we are only in a temporary alliance. As long as they signed the contract and fought for our cause, that's all that matters. You're looking at the situation short-sightedly. We must begin to look at the future after the war. You want to start building power? Isn't that a little too early? Asked old Ma, not hiding his worry. Maybe. His eyes focused on Yang Guowei and Xiao Songxi. These two had the highest hopes of recruiting from the information they gathered. Old Ma sighed before asking, what do we do with them? Give them the heaven will? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1031. Hello. Pei Lang thought momentarily. Brief them on the world's current situation. Afterward, use the reflecting mirror heart trial to determine their personality and who is genuinely willing to fight for our cause. Then, will we give them the heaven will? Yes, but don't forget to have them sign the contract first, nodded Pei Lang. I will come to see Yang Guowei and Xiao Songxi after the mirror test. As you wish. Then what about Emperor Wang's reward? Asked old Ma. Give him what he promised. These people were the first batch and he was very satisfied. Their cause needs upper-level talents/powerhouses as the world is about to enter an era of strife and chaos. Wang Qi received a space ring from a stranger and used his divine sense to check. The patriarch told him what to check and he did not want to make any mistake. Are you satisfied? I am, nodded Wang Qi. That's good, nodded old Ma. We are also happy with this trade and hope this alliance can continue. This is only the first group. However, the patriarch asked me to pass on a message. Do not expect the next group to be as talented as this one. That's understandable, nodded old Ma. He had read distant history and knew the myriad emperor world was unique in the lower dimension for some unknown reason. So, it's understandable they would have so many eternal talents. Do you know exactly when the next batch is coming? It should take a while since we must gather them from other world communities. I see. Well, you know how to contact us. Excuse me. Is there something else? Asked old Ma. Could you tell me if there is a way to see Empress Wu? Why do you want to see her? That's rather personal. Old Ma frowned. Wait a moment. I cannot make such a decision. The origin of this chapter's debut can be traced to N0V30. Please take your time. Wang Qi did not want to take the risk to publicly search for news about her, even if it might be common. Additionally, the rebellion would definitely know his next course of action, so it was best to use them and prevent any misunderstanding, which could lead to trust issues in their new and fragile alliance. He wants to see Empress Wu? Asked Pei Lang. At first, he thought something had happened since old Ma contacted him so soon, but he did not expect it was for this reason. Do you know why? He didn't want to say. You didn't pry? They had too many ways to get information from a weak immortal venerable secretly. It's about her, so I thought it would be best to be careful and report to you. Pei Lang groaned softly. You made the right choice. Give him the information and have someone follow him to see if he actually goes to see her. Immediately afterward, Old Ma gave Wang Qi the information on how to travel to the Origin Seal continent. And he made his way to that destination with the utmost haste. The Origin Seal continent was vast, with trillions upon trillions of inhabitants. Wang Qi knew he would not be able to contact the Empress with his identity even if he knew she had a palace at the very center. So, she followed the Patriarch's instructions. He concentrated intensely, bowed 90 degrees and muttered, Wang Qi, under the order of the Patriarch, came to see the Empress. A rune with a unique aura appeared on his forehead. Wang Qi did not wait long before he felt the surroundings change, and he was in another place. Sitting cross-legged opposite him was a woman of unparalleled beauty. Although she did not release any aura, he sensed her grandeur, power, nobility, and otherworldly nature. This was not the first he had seen her. When the Patriarch was still immortal, he saw the Empress accompanying him. However, this one was completely different from what he saw, almost like a different person. Wang Wei sent you? Asked Wu Hong in her ethereal voice. That's all right, stuttered Wang Qi as he lowered his head, not daring to continue gazing at such power and perfection. What does he want? The Patriarch asked me to give you this. He took out a space ring and held it in his hand. Wang Qi felt his hand was empty, but he did not dare raise his head. Meanwhile, Wu Hong removed two things from the space ring, a jade talisman and a letter. She pondered briefly before first opening the letter. Hello? How are you doing? I know this might be a cliché and boring for our first words, but after rewriting this letter more than 1,000 times, countless drafts and millions of words, these words best suit what I want to convey to you. After all, if all else fails, it will be good news to know you were okay. Anyway, I just want to hear from you. P.S. The talisman contains the experiment about existence from a talented cultivator called Madman Chu. I thought it might be useful for your injury. Be careful, you will owe him much karma if you accept his legacy. P.S. What is the best Tier 11 resource to break the Empyrean bottleneck? I wanted to ask the rebellion, but I thought you should be more knowledgeable than them. A tiny smile crept on the corner of Wu Hong's mouth before swiftly disappearing. She thought for a moment before taking out a piece of paper. Give this to him, she said, and a letter appeared in Wang Qi's hands. Is there anything else? No. Then you're dismissed. With a wave of her hand, Wang Qi disappeared from the room. Wu Hong looked at the two items in her hands, deep in thought. She carefully placed the letter away before focusing on the talisman. She had heard of the name, Madman Chu. During the Second Origin War, Qiyuan wanted to find the latter to help him complete his plan. Their group pursued countless rumors about Madman Chu in their attempt to locate him, but he was never found even after the event of the ultimate taboo. According to rumors, Madman Chu will only see someone that he wants to see. With a decisive look, she accepted the inheritance. Wang Qi sighed in relief when he realized he was somewhere in the Origin Seal continent. He did not waste any more time and used the special space ring the Patriarch gave him. He immediately sensed a weird aura protecting him. He no longer felt a potent power blocking his descent into the lower dimension. Through his connection to the Myriad Emperor world, Wang Qi immediately descended to the previous location where he had ascended a few hours prior. He then rushed into the throne room. What did she say? Did she respond? Immediately asked Wang Wei when he saw Wang Qi. Why, yes, replied the tired messenger as he took out the letter. Wang Qi could not tell when the thing left his hand. Hello back. I'm doing okay considering the circumstances. How about you? From what I hear, you're doing beautiful things in the lower dimension. P.S. I would like to thank you for this and the previous gift. I will reciprocate when the time is appropriate. P.S. The best would be Yuan Dao root. It takes the least amount of time to facilitate the breakthrough and has some effects in nourishing the fleshly body and the Empyrean soul while also helping stabilize the Grand Mist Wheel. However, it's a very rare spiritual herb comparable to Tier 12 in value. Although the letter was short, Wang Wei had an uncontrollable grin throughout reading it. He looked at Wang Qi and through his mind he saw her again after what felt like an eternity. He saw her unparalleled beauty, strange yet familiar aura and gray hair. In these short interactions, he had confirmed too many things and removed a heavy burden from his shoulders. Now he knew she knew something about him, most likely the clone's memories or from his ancestors. More importantly, he knew she would at least give him a chance. Isn't it just pursuing her again? He would gladly do it 1,000,000 times if it meant they could get together again. As for her being different from the ones he met, it did not matter. He would get to know the new her and accept her as she was. Ha ha, laughed Wang Wei maniacally, and the world changed for him for the second time. A golden rain suddenly enveloped the world, puzzling everybody. However, when people noticed this rain could increase the life of mortals by at least 10 years, low and middle-level cultivators by 5, and upper-echelon cultivators by 1 year, everyone went crazy. Emperor Enlightening Academy. Su Shi and a group of teachers stood outside, looking at this strange vision of heaven and earth. Heavenly Tao even wasted world source because he's happy? Said a teacher, not hiding his shock. I wonder how much you have to be beloved for heaven and earth to treat you like this, a female teacher with slight jealousy added. Not just beloved but powerful. That's true. Do you think any future heavenly emperor can recreate what he has done? Asked Song Li. Unless they can radically change the world for the better, I doubt it. I'm sure some people will fake these visions to embellish their reign. That's true. No one likes to admit they were inferior to their ancestors or the people that came before. Sadly, at least for a very long time, no one will ever come close to the first heavenly emperor's capabilities and achievements, so they could understand why some people would use such tactics. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1032 Happiness. Wang Wei was finally calm enough to stop laughing. He looked at the letter with a smile before carefully putting it away in a section of his space ring full of Wu Hong's things, including many clay or wood sculptures he had made. I'm sorry about that. No, it's okay, quickly replied Wang Qi. Everyone in the sect knew the patriarch carried some kind of profound sadness with him ever since the princess disappeared. Since his level was too low, he never knew all the information about those events. However, it seemed things were not as bad as some rumors. Tell me everything that happened. Don't leave any detail. Wang Qi recounted his experience. He explained everything he saw, learned, and even felt during his trip, and Wang Wei listened attentively. With this short encounter, he can deduce a great deal of information. What do you think of this old Ma? He asked. He acts like the steward of the entire operation, stated Wang Qi. However, he seems a bit indecisive. He does not make any major decisions and will report anything beforehand. Of course, this might be some kind of deceptive tactic. Wang Wei nodded outwardly to his words but did not immediately decide on old Ma's personality or abilities. He understood it was reasonable not to make any hasty decision regarding things related to Wu Hong. Give me the reward. Wang Wei received the space ring, and a look of surprise appeared on his face. Before even checking what was inside, he focused on the ring itself, and it was created. With how developed the cultivation civilization in the upper dimension is, it made sense such a thing would exist, he thought. After a specific tier, space rings are no longer safe because of how easily top powerhouses can control space. In other words, it's simple for a quasi-emperor to steal something from the space ring of a saint or lower cultivator without the latter knowing. At the immortal tier, such a thing is even more common and does not need to be only a space ring. Any world or pocket dimension that a cultivator creates to hold his item can be a victim of such a thing unless they place primary arrays to protect it. And even those could be useless for people who cultivate space, array grandau source, or both. The space ring the Alliance used was made of a material called void-blocking crystal. As the name implied, it blocked whatever space it was refined, preventing thieves of any kind. The material can also block all karma to prevent people from finding the location of the space it's blocking. This one should be a Tier 2 void-blocking crystal, meaning even the best Empyreans could not secretly take the thing inside, analyzed Wang Wei, slightly intrigued by what he divined. Finally, he checked the contents inside and was immediately satisfied with the result. According to their agreement, the final reward would be based on the quality of talent I brought them, and the first batch was the best of the best. The rebellion fulfilled their side of the detail and gave him many resources that would be helpful in the Dragon Phoenix realm. Thank you for your hard work, said Wang Wei. Although he had already agreed with true heavenly Tao, if Wang Qi was not careful, followed his instructions to the T, and did not resist the urge to run away with the rewards, everything would not have proceeded so smoothly. It was my greatest honor, Patriarch. Your reward is waiting for you back at the sect. A grin flashed in Wang Qi's mouth as he momentarily lost control due to excitement. He bowed politely before excusing himself. However, a few minutes after he left, someone came to the court to see Wang Wei. Son, what made you so happy? I got news from your daughter-in-law, that's why I'm so happy. Yen paused. She was not stupid. As such, she deduced the state of her son's relationship despite him not telling her everything. After all, Empress Wu was a well-known and beloved eternal emperor of the world. Oh, thank heaven and earth, I don't have to worry about you anymore. What does that mean? Asked Wang Wei, who felt her tone was strange. After she disappeared, I fear you would end up alone, and I would never be a grandmother. With my handsome face, how could I end up alone? Since you wanted her and only her, I fear you would remain alone if she rejected you. Wang Wei's mouth twitched slightly. Well, you don't have to worry about that, at least not yet. That's good. Yu Yen came only to check on him, so she briefly chatted before leaving. Her time was approaching and she needed to train. Before leaving, Wang Wei wanted to give her something for her body, but she refused. She aims to achieve 7-leaf strength before underground Dao re-establishment after she and her husband rule over the court. Although this path is arduous and dangerous, the experience will also be a form of tempering for her. So, she declined as she believed it was best to leave these rare resources to her son or someone else. After Yu Yan's departure, Wang Wei soon had his third guest. Before the person entered, he heard a loud voice outside. My favorite grandson. Grandpa came to see you. I'm your only grandson. So, this phrase is not as endearing as you think they are, he yelled back, and Wang Chang entered the room laughing. Isn't that a good thing? Now, you don't have to split my love with anyone else. Wang Wei rolled his eyes. So, what made you so happy? Asked Wang Chang. He had only come for a short break when he noticed the changes between heaven and earth. Some good news, and it also involved you, replied Wang Wei. Oh. I'm so close to finding Emperor Nine's sons. Wang Wei saw a glint in his grandfather's eyes, so he explained the situation with these top geniuses ascending. Good, uttered Wang Chang. Recently, I have been having dreams of reuniting with your grandmother. Now I understand why. Wang Wei immediately looked at him seriously. Why are you acting like your reincarnation is your death? Don't look at me like this. I'm not about to do anything stupid, said Wang Chang, almost choking in anger. I just thought I might see her during the process. Do you want me to try to arrange something for you? No need. Let's leave it to fate. Wang Wei could not help rolling his eyes at how ironic such a reply was. He summoned a green crystal the size of a 50-carat diamond. This is for you. What is it? Asked Wang Chang as he felt this crystal was pulsating or beating like a heart. I asked these people for the heart of an old tree, explained Wang Wei. This thing contains an enormous amount of wood/life energy, so you can train as severely as you want, and it will heal and strengthen your body in the process. Wang Wei was surprised by this thing. He asked for it specifically for his grandfather, so it was not an immortal tier resource. Yet, the energy contained in that crystal was palpitating. However, upon reflection he realized it made sense. Anything that can be considered old, in the upper dimension must at least be 1 yuan epoch. So, I can train even harder? Asked Wang Chang. Yes, but you should still take time to rest. This thing doesn't have as good of an effect on restoring spiritual power, let alone mental fatigue. I know. How do I use it? You only need to keep in one of your heart's chambers. Whoosh. Wang Chang directly plunged his hand and the crystal into his heart, making Wang Wei speechless. This guy could have swallowed it and controlled the thing to reach his heart, or be more civilized and used a small teleportation technique to send it to its destination. But no, he had to use such brutal means. No wonder his technique was so masochist, he secretly complained. Well, I'm back to training, said Wang Chang, who prepared to leave. Then, he suddenly thought of something. Do you have any more of the wine from last time? Wang Wei waved his hand to give him a bottle. Only one? Don't be so cheap, Im. With a thought, his grandfather disappeared from the court and returned to the sect. He smiled as he heard the latter's complaints about not respecting his elders. His gaze shifted to the swallowing zone. He now knew what to turn the Genesis fruit into, but that created some other trouble for him, energy. If he wants that thing to turn into the Yuan Dao root and the best of its kind, he will need to feed it even more energy. What a headache, he muttered before entering a short retreat, waiting for the next major event. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1033 returned 200 years past, and many people thought the world would be quiet and peaceful until 100 years later, when the next court meeting would occur. However, today would be a day to remember. Heavenly Court. Wang Wei opened his eyes and exhaled. It's already time? He summoned the chi luck of the entire world to block the myriad emperor world from all types of foreign eyes. He did not want an ounce of what was about to happen to be leaked, at least not for a while. Boom. The entire world suddenly changed as visions enveloped every corner. Golden lotus, Tao sounds, purple chi from the east, sacred beasts, sage chanting or preaching, everything was present. Afterward, 7 individuals with noble and awe-inspiring aura appeared floating above the sky. The world was boiling as the people recognized these 7 individuals and realized what they'd become. The people realized the previous battle was not simple and held a great secret, most likely connected to the heavenly court. Sadly, those who knew the truth remained quiet. After these people showed their presence to the world, they immediately headed to the court to see Wang Wei, and they were all shocked. They had previously known how powerful he was, but it was a completely different experience to witness it themselves, especially in their current realm and strength. I have seen your majesty, the heavenly emperor. 7x, at ease, said Wang Wei. While these people were checking him out, he was also doing the same, observing each of them closely. Yin Zhen had now reached the 3rd step of the 10 steps in the Dragon Phoenix realm. His battle prowess should be in the middle of the 5-fold battle realm. Lin Fan had also achieved the 5-fold battle realm, but he should be on the lower end and slightly weaker than Yin. General Jian Wushuang achieved the 3-fold battle realm, but it was the peak. With only a little push he can achieve 4-fold. Jin Biu was also 3-fold, but she was more in the middle and lower tier. Jingwu Hua and Xiao Songxi achieved 2-fold with slight differences, while Yang Guowei had 1-fold battle strength. However, both Xiao Songxi and Yang Guowei were only pseudo-eternals and not the genuine type. Yang Guowei is burdened by his father's actions while Xiao Songxi was disturbed by what happened with the Xi clan, analyzed Wang Wei. Those two, along with Jingwu Hua, were the type of eternal talents that were not guaranteed success. In other words, their ability to become eternal hinged on their performance while absorbing the heaven's will. Jingwu Hua's state of mind was strengthened and sublimated after speaking with her father and finding purpose for her life. She performed to the best of her ability and became an eternal. Sadly, these two failed. Tell me everything you experienced after ascending. Lin Fan stepped and explained everything. He did not hide anything. He told Wang Wei everything they saw and experienced, including the mirror test, the contract, absorbing the heaven will, and contacting their factions afterward. Unfortunately, only Lin Fan received some acknowledgement from Emperor Kong, while the others were still silent. So far there doesn't seem to be any issue, thought Wang Wei. Did they brief on the general situation of the war? They gave us an information jade that explained the overall situation. Can you show it to me, or is that restricted information? Besides a few minor things, I can show you the rest, replied Lin Fan as he sent the information. Wang Wei shook his head. The thing was not detailed enough, but he did not know whether this information was left out or the rebellion simply did not know. Luckily, he learned a very crucial piece of information that he was not privy to prior. Mithraea and Supreme Unity disappeared a few hundred years ago. No, they disappeared precisely around the time he contacted Empyrean Jimin. Did Mithraea force him out of the Eternal Ascension world to limit his influence in this chess game, or did they disappear for an entirely different reason? Analyzed Wang Wei. He was leading more on the former since the timing was too coincidental. He focused back on the ground and sent them the information he knew in much greater detail. He started with the ultimate taboo, talked about the 7 moons, 2 suns' rise to power, and their split, and even mentioned the path of transcendence. Although Wang Wei still hid a lot of information, he provided them with a lot more information than the rebellion gave them. Then, he waited for more than 10 minutes as these people processed this information. Do you know why I told you all this information? Lin Fan smiled wryly as he understood. They now had a more comprehensive understanding of the situation, thus making it easier for them to make good decisions and prevent the rebellion from taking advantage of their ignorance. Wang Wei's tactic is an excellent way to prevent them from becoming these people's pawns, but they inadvertently became his pawn in the process. You shouldn't have told us this information, said Yin Zhen. We won't be able to hide it from the people above. No one can divine or deduce the information since it will trigger a response from those two, he explained. So, you're only concerned with protecting it from your memory. As soon as you return, contact your factions with this information. He looked at Lin Fan. Emperor Kong should know something, but it will still be valuable to him. As for you guys, your faction will want to know how you learn such secrets and should contact you. Wang Wei was sure these moons would temper with history and hide many secrets. The only issue is you two. His eyes shifted to Yang Guowei and Xiao Songxi. Emperor Kong should have no issue helping you protect your mind. Honestly, I have no issue if you guys sell the information for more benefit, but you should understand what can be sold and what should be kept a secret. We understand, replied Lin Fan, who was secretly sighing. He was already feeling the effect of an inferior background. Unfortunately, he could not help it since the academy was simply too young and lacked history. How long can you guys stay? A maximum of 300 years, but it's best to leave as soon as possible. Once they descended to the lower realm, they received a notice from True Heavenly Tao. In that case, get your affairs in order and leave. Everyone saluted Wang Wei before dispersing in different directions. Lin Fan appeared outside of the academy and turned around to look in the court's direction. The path of transcendence? His eyes had an unknown glint before disappearing. Many people were waiting for him, but he went straight to his wife. He held her in his arms before spilling out his guts. He told her everything he experienced, including the meeting a few minutes ago. The situation has become more complicated and dangerous, sighed Su Shi. Yes, but the greater the danger also means more benefit. Plus, I now have concrete proof of the way forward. Since these two sons achieved half-step transcendence, it means it's possible and a feasible method exists. You have a point. Su Shi knew she would not be able to escape the upcoming war. Her delayed ascension only meant she had a long time to prepare and get stronger. What's your plan before you leave? Do you even have time to do anything? The first major thing is to preach and repay my karma to the world. You still owe the world karma? Yes, but not as much as you guys. Regardless, since it's my home, I will do my best to take care of it, replied Lin Fan. After that, I should have time to leave a formation and artifact for the sect. The formation was easier to set up, but the artifact could cause some issues. If the sect already has a quasi-emperor weapon prepared, he only needs to nourish it with the Grand Tao source and fuse his weapon's projection into it. However, if they want him to refine a better emperor artifact for them, that would require more time and better resources. What about the Tao ancestors, immortal venerables and insurgents? I will send the Grand Tao source seeds and immortal mansions when Wang Wei exchanges the next batches of candidates. Lin Fan momentarily paused at the absurdity of this statement. As for my insurgents, I have prepared the resources and instructions, but you need to complete it for me. It's good that you're prepared for everything, nodded Su Shi. But what about our situation? Have you made a decision? Yes. I was thinking about leaving an immortal clone to accompany them while we continued our pursuit of Grand Tao. Lin Fan did not hear from her for a few seconds, so he swiftly added, I can even modify their memories so they don't know about my main body. He felt it would be terrible on his conscience if he just abandoned everybody after everything they've gone through. This may be the best choice. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1034 Secret Vault here. This is for you, said Lin Fan as he placed a space ring in her soft palm. What's this? Heavenly Tao restricted what we could bring back, but some leeways remain. I found a few rare resources for you. Where did you get the time and opportunity to get these things? Asked Su Shi after checking the contents with her divine sense. It's a loan from the rebellion. She immediately frowned. Will that not cause more complications? Maybe. But I only need to do one special mission and I can repay the debt. That sounds dangerous. Possibly, but it's worth it, replied Lin Fan calmly. Plus, I came here to prepare for any possible danger. Su Shi immediately understood what he meant. Eternal emperors born in the lower dimension have an advantage over the upper dimension ones. They can leave a normal clone along with well-protected secret realms containing their name and history. The lower dimension is under true heavenly Tao's protection, whose rules do not allow any beings to influence or mess with it easily. As such, when someone tries to erase a lower dimension eternal emperor, the clone and secret realm become a barrier that forces them to deal with the restrictions of true heavenly Tao. Such a loophole is a right granted only to eternal emperors from the lower dimension. In other words, if someone is born in the upper dimension but descends and proves the Tao there, true heavenly Tao won't allow it. Additionally, they have only one chance and cannot recreate these clones or secret realms if they are destroyed. I'm worried about Wang Wei, said Lin Fan. The security vault, as it has been labeled over the years, is one of an eternal emperor's greatest secrets, something that some of them do not even tell their Tao companion. However, Lin Fan knew he would not be able to hide his vault from Wang Wei's eyes, even if he put it somewhere in the endless void. His existence has long broken the balance, replied Su Shi. Eternals are usually generations, if not eras, apart, and their strength is relative to one another, making it easier to hide their vaults. Unfortunately, this era was a mess. Do you have any idea? He asked, not willing to relent on this particular situation. The only thing I can think of is if you could find some resource to hide and send it back. However, such a thing must at least be tier 11, and Heavenly Tao would never allow such a thing to descend to the lower dimension. Not necessarily, countered Lin Fan. As you said, he's broken the balance, and true Heavenly Tao will not accept that, even if there is some kind of connection or deal between them. Maybe it can be convinced. You're thinking too positively. Do you think it will give you an unfair advantage just to balance out Wang Wei? Having a vault protected or hidden by an Empyrean tier resource would give Lin Fan too much of an advantage, so his plan had a very low chance of success. Unless I could find something that targets only him, he added softly. Does such a thing exist? And if he did, is it worth using it only on him, especially given the situation? That remains to be seen. Did your identity bring you any trouble? No, they didn't say or do anything, not even once. I thought there would be some delay to my heaven will, but nothing of the sort. It's odd they didn't mention it whatsoever, muttered Wang Wei. I feel the same way. No need to worry, reassured Wang Wei after seeing the look on his face. This could mean they don't worry you will be a threat or have long decided not to include you into their core. Is that so? It could be a good thing, continued Wang Wei. Not being a core member means you won't be sent on horrible missions. Of course, you must be cautious not to be used as a discarded or replaceable pawn. I will be careful. Wang Wei dismissed him and looked into the distance for a moment before closing his eyes and waiting. He did not have to wait long as Zhen Biu soon came to see him. To what do I owe this pleasure? He asked, standing up from the throne and inviting her to walk outside. I came to ask for a favor, replied Zhen Biu directly. I know I owe you a lot already, but I can help it. Help? Why don't you ask your employer? Employer? She shook her head, thinking what a strange way to refer to these people and their circumstances. We have not reached such a level of trust yet. That's understandable. So what do you need? A way to track and kill Five Heart. I understand tracking her, but killing? Don't you want to do it yourself? No, I want her gone as soon as possible. She was almost in trouble while absorbing the heaven will. If not for the talent of her pure heart, she might have fallen short like Yang Guowei and Xiao Songxi. After that ordeal, she decided to remove that trouble as swiftly as humanly possible. Very well, agreed Wang Wei. He raised his palm to condense a talisman with two purposes. Use karma, divination, and yin-yang calculation to find a target and seal a powerful attack from him. Thank you, and I promise I will repay my debt. Wang Wei smiled but did not say anything else, not even mentioning Emperor Five Heart's artifact that he was slightly interested in. Some things were simply not destined for him, and since this artifact was not worth the effort of ignoring fate, he was more nonchalant about it. Zhen Biu returned to the five-element balance palace, feeling a heavy burden lifted from her shoulder. Now she can focus on repairing her relationship with the palace. After what happened in the Heavenwell battle, no one completely trusted. Although she understood their reason, she was still a little distracted and chose to view her relation to her sect as more of a transaction where each party gets what they want. However, after seeing the situation upstairs and knowing the importance of a good background, she wanted to repair the relationship to prevent any trouble with the upper dimension. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1035 Blood Source Nourishment Golden Crow Clan. Have you prepared everything? Asked Jingwu Hua. I'm afraid we will need a little bit more time. Jingwu Hua frowned, looking at the thin middle-aged man dressed in green. If she remembered correctly, he held the title of Crow II and was known for his managerial abilities. I thought I told you to prepare beforehand. Crow II was immediately embarrassed. Jingwu Hua did not tell them why she wanted a peak quasi-emperor artifact modified after her proving Dao artifact. In hindsight, they should have guessed what she wanted, but no one thought she would have another chance at proving the Dao. How much longer? She asked. Give us 20 years and it will be done. 20 years? That's too long. I will give you 10. If you can't get it done, then consider that you don't have fate with an emperor artifact. Crow II's mouth twitched but did not dare say anything, We will get it done. Jingwu Hua nodded nonchalantly. Then she asked him, why aren't you leaving? There is something else I would like to consult you about. Jingwu Hua sensed his careful tone. Don't beat around the bush. It's about the Yang clan. Do you guys want my help to eliminate them? Not eliminate per se, since that might cause you trouble with Yang Guowei. But is it possible to force them to move out of the sun? In your dream, said Jingwu Hua directly. Okay, you can leave. Crow too secretly sighed as he expected this outcome. He secretly cursed the former patriarch of the clan. That bastard was greedy and wanted to forcefully get his hands on that emperor bone to turn his waste of a son into a heaven chosen. The worst part is he convinced many others in his lineage to follow his stupid plan. By the time he knew of the truth, a terrible rift had already been built between the clan and Jingwu Hua. Crow too walked out of the room, his shoulder lower than when he walked in. He did not even mention the third issue he wanted to discuss, Grand Dao Source baptism. Something told him their clan should not expect such a favor. Jingwu Hua calmly watched this and only sneered. She wanted to leave this place as soon as possible after repaying her karmic debt to this damn clan. Afterward, she only had to preach to the myriad emperor world and prepare her secret vault. Her focus should be on the branch on the upper dimension and the upcoming war. Sword-casting villa? I did not expect the situation to be so dire, sighed Jian Sha. At least there is some good news about our ancestors, if that can be called good news. Best we stay positive. True, nodded Jian Sha. You have to be careful? I will. What about your goal? I've acquired some information, explained Jian Wushuang. They know about the ultimate sword path, but the extreme swordsmen have gone above and beyond to suppress it. Doesn't that mean you're in trouble? Yes and no, responded Jian Wushuang. There are currently no Paragon-tier extreme swordsmen, so the situation is still manageable. Additionally, I learned that the situation was not aggravated because someone intervened. Someone intervened? Are you referring to one of the moons? Probably not. As you know, we, swordsmen, are arrogant, so how could we listen to them? So, a very powerful and respected swordsman calmed down the situation? I wonder who it is. I have no idea, as everyone I tried to acquire was purposely vague. I didn't want to raise suspicion and not pry too deep into it, replied Jian Wushuang. But as you said, it must be a very powerful and famous swordsman to have such a large influence. My next task is to find more information about this person and their intentions. You suspect they have the same goal as you? I can't help but do, nodded Jian Wushuang. After the news, all extreme path swordsmen reacted harshly, especially after knowing this new path was the trend of heaven and earth. However, despite all their influence, this person chose to calm the flame instead of fueling it. Of course, there is a chance they did not want this new development to affect the current political situation, but I have to be wary. That's a good direction to investigate. However, you should have realized it's not simple to take the destiny of this new path? Of course I do. Jian Wushuang was not stupid, so he knew the difficulty that lay ahead. A little eternal emperor could only dream of bearing the weight of such a destiny. Furthermore, he soon realized the main thing needed to achieve his ambition, the support of a powerful faction. The sword-casting villa appeared to fill these criteria, but things were not as simple as stated. He did not know whether his seniors and ancestors would support this new path or be adamant in their stubborn ways, choosing to eliminate it instead of embracing it. If that becomes the situation he faces, he might have to do things alone. Time is not on your side, stated Jian Sha. Wang Tian will ascend in the next generation, not giving you much of an advantage. And if the Heavenly Emperor decides to suppress you as a way to pave the way for his father, your situation will become even worse. Jian Wushuang was silent, looking in the distance. Wang Wei won't intervene. What makes you so sure? 2 reasons. Wang Tian is a swordsman and has our arrogance. He won't allow his son to intervene in such a thing. Secondly, Wang Wei has inherited the Dao opening sect's ideology of how to train genius. He will probably treat me as a sharpening stone for his father. You might be right, but it also seems you're relying too much on luck. Jian Sha was not as confident as him. My current greatest threat is not the Wang clan. Who else could possibly be a threat? It's that swordsman called Ji Lanfeng, replied Jian Wushuang. After I descended, I sensed a few supreme swordsmen, and he was the most dangerous. He's indeed a great threat, uttered Jian Sha. Ji Lanfeng was of this generation, meaning he could immediately compete with Jian Wushuang. According to the villa's deduction, the Heavenly Emperor era will spread throughout the endless void, delaying Ji Lanfang's ascension, but he should leave around the same time as the Heavenly Emperor. So, what are you going to do next? No rush. I first need to settle my karma in the lower dimension and deal with a few other things. Body Dao Cave, welcome the Cave Master. These words echoed between heaven and earth as thousands of people pronounced them simultaneously. Yin Zhen calmly watched everything, taking in everybody's happiness and hidden emotions. He knew why they were so accepted. In the cave's history, the ancestor was the only pure body refiner, while all the others were double practitioners. These emperors did not want to risk dying and chose to prove the Taoist Qi practitioners. But today the Body Dao Cave finally has its second pure body refiners that absorbed a heaven will. And based on records, Yin Zhen's achievements were even more remarkable than the ancestors. Be at ease, he said before immediately beginning his work. The cave was his home and he wanted it to strive. So, Yin Zhen wanted to increase their foundation to the best of his ability. He started a blood essence nourishment for the sect on the spot. Body refining emperors of his kind could not use Grand Dao baptism, but he could nourish these people with a drop of blood from his essence. Such a process had the same effect as the baptism but rather focused more on enhancing blood qi and talent for body refining. Yin Zhen nodded in satisfaction a few hours later after finishing the process. He knew even if the Heavenly Emperor did it, he could not do as good a job as him, and it was not because his current body refining realm was higher. At the end of the day, his essence was the purest because he did not double cultivate his body and qi. The next step was to leave his scripture for the cave. While absorbing the heaven will, Yin Zhen did not just increase his cultivation level. The heaven will showed him the truth of the universe and many more. In the process of absorbing it, he learned a great deal about the universe's essence, which allowed him to optimize his original scripture and prepare for his future cultivation. Regarding tempering the body and understanding willpower manifestation, Yin Zhen did not know whether he was the best in the lower dimension, but he was definitely in the top 3. The result of his comprehension was an update on his zombie art. He updated it to be more universal by lowering the threshold and the side effects of becoming an undead creature first to cultivate. This technique should have been called Yin Refining Art, but he kept the original name for sentimental reasons. Besides the scripture, Yin Zhen had to set up a formation that used his entire exoskeletons as a medium, along with a blood artifact. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1036 Sacrifice Great Yi Dynasty. Xiao Songxi was elated to see his mother and sister again. So, from now on, our dynasty will be a veritable emperor lineage? Asked his sister, not hiding her excitement and joy. We will. Now I can walk in the world with my head raised proudly. Couldn't you do that before? Chided Mother Xiao. She then looked at her son. I'm proud of you. A large grin was plastered on Xiao Songxi's face after hearing that. Humph, snorted Sister Xiao. Now these people should regret what they've done to us. Why are you bringing this now? I'm just saying. Mother is correct. There is no need to bring negativity to today's joyous occasion, said Xiao Songxi, deciding to spend a great day with his family. He did not tell them much about the ongoing of the upper dimension or the rebellion as he did not want to worry them. Near the end of the family dinner, he asked them, You have to make a choice. What choice? Do you want to become immortal now or wait later until I have settled in the upper dimension and I can bring you? It's very easy to acquire heaven wills and you can both prove the Tao. Really? We can become emperors? Yes, but it will take some time. You might have to seal yourself to prevent running out of lifespan. He had already searched the relevant information and knew he could send a projection into the lower dimension after becoming an Empyrean and bringing his family with him. Can you send the heaven will down here? Why are you asking such a question? Asked Mother Xiao. What else? So I can become a heavenly emperor. Xiao Songxi was immediately speechless, while Mother Xiao scolded her daughter for speaking nonsense. No, that's not allowed, he explained. You will have to ascend. Oh, what a shame. Xiao Songxi rolled his eyes. If delusion were a power, this girl would truly be invincible. Sierre, what do you think we should do? He thought for a moment. Let's wait. The emperor path reigned supreme, so it was best to choose it. Although his family had to wait a long time, the sealing process would not make it feel as such. Now that he had made a choice, he had to prepare for the future. He needed to leave a mortal clone to be the ruler of the dynasty and pass on the Xiao clan. He also needed to create powerful insurgents that would protect not only his dynasty but also his family. Everyone was tired after dinner and chose to sleep soundly today, everyone except Xiao Songxi. As he watched his sister fall into a true dream, his eyes looked in the distance, flashing with deep hatred. He immediately used a technique that allowed him to temporarily sacrifice 99% of his power to boost one aspect: invisibility/infiltration. He headed directly to the ocean, to the Baishi clan. No one detected him as he found the new patriarch. His father was killed by him after forcing the bastard to apologize to his mother and sister, and forcefully took control of the sect's formations and a few artifacts. Then Xiao Songxi began a massacre. He killed almost everything in sight with a few exceptions. He kept a few immortals and insurgents, with the intention to modify their memories and enslave their souls so they could serve his great Yi. Their dynasty was new and weak and needed to increase its foundation. The second group he left alive was the Star Sage. When he visited Wang Wei to ask permission for his actions, the latter only told him that such a bloodline should not become extinct in the world. So Xiao Songxi plans to use them on his own. The destruction of the Baishi clan was swift and efficient. Xiao Songxi's sneak attack caught them off guard, preventing the insurgents from putting on a decent fight. Additionally, he enveloped the clan with their own array to prevent the Sea clan's immortal sovereign from detecting something and intervening. Once he finished his massacre, he launched a terrifying bloodline curse to eradicate the remaining members who were lucky to be outside. Xiao Songxi proceeded to plunder the sect's resources and foundation before leaving. His destination was not home but the court. Why are you here? Wang Wei thought he would be counting his spoils by now, so he was baffled why the latter directly came to see him. I wanted your opinion or input on something, and this is what I want to pay for your help. He wanted to say service but felt inappropriate. Wang Wei looked at the space ring and was slightly surprised. A 5-star sage. The Baishi clan has claimed they did not have one of those in this generation, but now it appears they went to extreme lengths to hide this secret. Why don't you ask the sage? I don't think their ability can help me, at least not with their current strength. I accept your offer, replied Wang Wei. The 5-star sage's divination was very unique and could be of great help to the sect. Plus, he was slightly intrigued by what the latter wanted to know. What is it you want to know? Xiao Songxi took a moment to word his question correctly. Is it possible for me to have a second chance to become an eternal if I sacrifice, let's say, an Empyrean? Wang Wei did not expect these words to come out of Xiao Songxi's mouth, a rather bold and interesting idea. So, is it feasible? Logically speaking it is, but let's check. His eyes lit up, followed by countless strings materializing around him. He played with a few like they were a guqin. Your idea would have succeeded if you were the first to do it? Xiao Songxi sighed as the worst-case scenario he feared had happened. He was not the first or only cultivator to use sacrifice Dao, so it should be expected. Additionally, if there were no limitations to such a thing, people could just cultivate sacrifice Dao as a sub-Dao and try it. What about a paragon? Wang Wei looked at him. Has your desire for power driven you crazy? Xiao Songxi was silent. I'm just not willing. Wang Wei sighed. I'm not one to belittle someone's goal or ambition. Anyways, the current situation is chaotic, so who says it's not possible for a little eternal to capture a paragon and use it as a sacrifice? I know you're just saying these words, but I still appreciate them, said Xiao Songxi as he bowed and left. Soon the news of what happened to the Baishi clan spread. Countless eyes fixed on the Sea clan as people wanted to know the ins and outs and how things would develop. Soon after, rumors that the Sea clan would appeal to the court to sanction Xiao Songxi's actions spread like wildfire. People began to speculate this event would be significant as it would dictate the relationship between the court and the newly appearing eternal powerhouses. Some people even believed that Xiao Songxi's actions were an act of rebellion. He did it to send a message to the court that no one could restrain him or the others. The discussion soon got out of control as people believed there might be internal strife in the myriad emperor world, an act that would severely affect the progress they've made since the beginning of the era. However, regardless of the final outcome, most citizens had faith in the Heavenly Emperor's final victory. They just worried what price would be paid to end the situation as soon as possible. During this time, the dream world saw its highest usage, allowing Wang Wei to gather a lot of spiritual power. Unfortunately, the people were severely wrong. After a few days, nothing happened, and the Sea clan did not launch an official complaint. The wise individuals were not surprised by this outcome. Nothing can go undetected by the Heavenly Emperor. So, Xiao Songxi's action only meant one thing: it was allowed. No one knew whether the Heavenly Emperor simply did not care and let it happen or they came up with some kind of deal. Regardless of the reason, it happened because he allowed it. The Sea clan knew this and thus decided it was pointless to launch a complaint. They knew that even if they complained, the Heavenly Emperor could just ignore them or use myriad bullshit bureaucratic justifications for his decisions. So the best move is to remain quiet. Maybe such an act would improve their standing in the Heavenly Emperor's eyes in the slightest and repair the previously fractured relationship. The world did not focus too much on this catastrophe. Less than a month after descending, it was finally time for these new emperors to preach to the world. Such a major event took precedence over any clan annihilation without a doubt. After all, what these people genuinely care about is benefits. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1037 Mass Preaching. My name is the Heavenly Zombie Emperor. Today I will preach about essence. Between heaven and earth, all sentient beings are composed of three aspects: essence, spirit, and chi. Essence is the. Even though Yin Zhen was a true power Dao realm cultivator, he is allowed to use the title of Great Emperor, and it's not just him. Anyone who has achieved 40 infant fiend god force can use an emperor title. The entire world listened attentively to this sermon, including Wang Wei. With the new update of the origin system, body refining has become a core aspect, especially in the divine body realm. So, this sermon served a crucial role in the overall development of the world. The process lasted 3 years and everything was accompanied by visions that covered the world. Dao rhymes enveloped the myriad emperor world, granting it a sense of mystery and grandeur. Wang Wei blocked the world, so these visions remained internal, but there was a high chance they would not spread, given it was only a sermon, and these people were alternative emperors. I am the Chaos Time Emperor, and I talk about the evolution of time from its earliest state of chaos and disorder to a peaceful and neutral condition that allows the thriving of life. According to the order the group agreed on, Lin Fan was next and began his sermon 3 months after Yin Zhen's ended. He also lasted 3 years, creating a visual experience similar to his predecessor, with the exception that the river of time might have flashed a few times. I am the Infinite Sword Emperor, and my Dao is that of the infinite strike, infinite cut, infinite parry, infinite. Jian Wushuang's sermon was geared towards swordsmen, and he was not apologetic about it. Although people could learn a thing or two from him about attacking, but his target or demographic was the swordsman. Of course, this sermon was considered controversial in the swordsmanship community. Extreme swordsmen are still the mainstream of the world despite losing one of their best, Wang Tian. But now they realize they've also lost another great talent. Even worse, this one has proved the Dao on this new path. Many people knew there would be some strife in the swordsmanship community once everything settled. Previously, everyone became quiet because they knew their real confrontation was in the next generation after Wang Tian proved the Dao. However, Jian Wushuang's action might have provoked an advanced war between these people. Wang Tian, who was complaining non-stop as to why his son forcefully stopped his training, became genuinely happy that he did. Despite everything he learned and experienced in the swordsmanship world, the benefit he received from learning from an eternal emperor was immense. From then on, he decided to record the sermon of all sword emperors as part of the foundation for the Sword Alliance. Of course, he also knew he could not immediately return to his seclusion once this was over. He had to show his face to the world and quell some of the chaos in his community. This humble Taoist priest took the name Twin Unity Empress to emphasize the unity of man and heaven and earth, man and the Tao and man and itself. Our journey will begin like all life began, with the balance of the 5 elements, followed by the evolution of Yin and Yang, and we will end with a touch of Taiji. 5 elements has always been the most common and widespread Tao in the world, and with the versatility of Yin and Yang, her sermon was the most favored of everyone, and there is a low chance that someone would surpass her in that area. The people felt they did not have enough once she finished. The dichotomy between going from Lin Fan's esoteric time-related sermon to Jian Wushuang's swordsmanship-focused words and then to her sermon was simply surreal. Most people felt they spent 3 years listening to nonsense, followed by 3 years of something most were not interested in, to listening to the fundamental truths of the universe, and it was such a spiritual experience. Alas, all good things must come to an end. I am the pure Yang Flame Empress, and my Tao focused not on balance but on the extreme. Today we will focus on the extreme of flame. Jingwu Hua's sermon should have been very popular, considering flame Tao is widespread, but it was not. Firstly, she only focused on the flame aspect of her Tao and did not touch on the yang aspect. Secondly, she directed her preaching toward the demon race, focusing on applying Tao through the bloodline instead of the normal way of the soul, spirit, mind, or body. Few humans have bloodlines, at least relatively compared to the demon race. Ultimately, people only complain to themselves. After all, she was an eternal emperor and from the demon race, so it was understandable why she took this approach. Maybe she's not as bad as I thought, muttered Ao Shin. Long ago, the demon race wanted to form an alliance with her through marriage, but things never reached anywhere. The relationship with the Golden Crow clan can be described as neutral, but that's only because of his existence. Once he leaves, there is a high chance that his kind will revert to disdaining the Golden Crow clan. I can use this to genuinely appease the relationship between us. I was lucky enough to acquire the title of heart-sacrificing emperor. Today, I will show a different perspective on the cultivation world from the aspect of sacrifice. Mortals envy our power, status, and long lifespan, but what price do we pay for those things? What do we sacrifice? Time, effort, morality, and a myriad of other things. Sacrifice is a balanced way of the world that touches on the way of yin and yang. Sacrifice one thing to gain something else, and the more you're willing to pay, the greater the reward. Xiao Sangsa's sermon was odd to say the least. Wang Wei saw it as the cultivation version of a motivational talk, and the effects were more than wonderful. He could foresee the effect as more cultivators worked hard in their journey, as they knew whatever difficulty they were currently dealing with was the sacrifice needed to attain power, wealth, and longevity. My name is Yang Guowei, now known as the Chrome Emperor. Color, on a superficial level, is how we see or perceive the world. Although this aspect is fascinating, there is more to colors than this. Yang Guowei's sermon was more popular than Wang Wei anticipated, as the fact he went last did not have much of an effect. He first started by preaching about perception, which was very helpful to cultivators since they learned many applications of their senses and perceptions. However, what made his sermon so popular was his target audience, mortals, the ones focusing on arts and crafts. He weaved ideas and techniques about using color in various arts and crafts, mostly painting, but he was also creative for many other professions. His actions boosted the validity and power of the enlightening temple, which thus further empowered mortals. Wang Wei opened his eyes as Yang Guowei uttered his last words. He could sense the world's unwillingness. After all, they spent 21 or more years straight listening to great emperors, no eternals, preach to them. No world in the lower dimension has ever experienced such a thing, and none will ever do. He calmly observed the world as many visions manifested all at once. 7 multicolored dragons materialized in the sky before traveling worldwide, showing their might and presence before each finally ended in their respective sex chi luck. N0V3LTR0V served as the original host for this chapter's release on N0V3LB1N. 6 emperor lineages increased their sex foundation, and a new lineage appeared. Wang Wei focused on the Tao rhymes of the world and could not help but praise himself for what he did to the origin system. Cultivators who were in the divine altar realm had a feast because of how many Tao rhymes the world received and the fact they were new and extremely active. Many of the young geniuses in this realm successfully established one of the best foundations in probably 100 generations. The people in this cultivator realm were not the only ones who benefited. Anyone who was in the midst of switching to the new system took advantage of these 7 sermons to accelerate the process and strengthen their foundation. Meanwhile, cultivators of the old era or system also had their cake. With so much Tao rhyme, understanding the laws became way easier. Wang Wei expects a dramatic increase in the number of void-shattering realm cultivators for a while until the Tao rhymes enter a more inert state. Chapter 1038 Aftermath. Wang Wei's eyes saw or experienced how true heavenly Tao would balance the overwhelming growth of the myriad emperor world, and he had to marvel at the latter's creativity. He saw 2 extremely powerful star beasts battling it in the world, their fight taking them across multiple world communities. That battle resulted in a space-time storm that created world collisions between hundreds, if not thousands, greater thousand worlds in their respective heavenward world. These collisions were not temporary but led to permanent fusion. These heavenward worlds will have their world source drastically increased and granted permission to create more heaven wills. He saw how true heavenly Tao removed the cognitive blockage of a few people, allowing them to become more innovative and creative. Dozens of them eventually created new things that allowed them to amass enough merit to use the merit-proving method. which also became a part of their fortunate encounter. Along the same line, Ao Shen's merit transitioning method became the reward for new secret realms that appeared out of nowhere, and most of them also contained innate demon god bloodline for the destined individuals. Wang Wei saw people who accidentally released unique qi from the source qi space, qi that served a similar purpose as Su Shi's primordial chaos qi, increasing the world source and overall strength of the world. With more sources, these worlds can now condense additional heaven wills. Another method of the balance mechanism he saw was some heaven will world reverting to their ancient period. In the old times, the nine-devil god world was not the only place that gave birth to more than one heaven will at the cost of sacrificing the birth of higher-class emperors. They became the most famous but not the only ones. Although these worlds were rare, they existed across the lower dimension. However, after the devil invasion, true heavenly Tao intervened in managing these heaven will worlds and removed the concept of these worlds. Every world was homogeneous from now on as they followed the blueprint of one heaven will per generation. This method was the perfect way to encounter the sheer number of emperors the myriad emperor world acquired. The sudden increase of heaven's will and new emperors was not true heavenly Tao's only move. Some worlds did not get such an opportunity but received more resources to cultivate immortal sovereigns and true power Tao powerhouses. Resources to cultivate eternal class insurgent that were rare and even severely limited began to appear in larger quantities. You didn't have to react so severely. After all, I was also planning on sending them upstairs and increasing their number of emperors, complained Wang Wei as he shook his head. The changes in this world were not happening immediately and would take some time. However, he had no plan of intervening as he knew the consequences. What a fascinating creature true heavenly Tao is. According to his deduction, true heavenly Tao wishes for the lower dimension to prosper as it would increase its power to fight against supreme unity. However, the increase has to be done in a specific way that ensures the balance of the world. Is the core of its creation balance? Can such a conclusion apply to Grand Tao Source as well? Asked Wang Wei to himself. However, the answer was not so cut and dry. In the upper dimension, the concept of balance is not as strict or even present. That's evident by how powerful and unrestrained paragons are. So, if he expanded things to the larger macrocosm, Grand Tao would care even less. It will not care whether paragons or half-step transcendents killed each other or an unfathomable number of lives. It will not care how powerful or heaven-defying they become compared to others. But what if someone's power approached or caught to it? Will Grand Tao continue its nonchalant attitude, or will it also activate some form of balance mechanism? Wang Wei knew Grand Tao had its own rules or mechanism because of the existence of the 13 taboos and his deduction that the latter wanted a replacement for the fate cardinal. However, his knowledge of the subject was subpar to say the least, so he wanted to see if he could deduce more information by observing a lesser version of Grand Tao. I'm getting ahead of myself, thought Wang Wei. He would have to be at least a paragon to observe and contemplate the essence of true heavenly Tao. And even then it won't be easy to get even a glimpse of the truth. After the sermon, the world entered a time of peace and tranquility. Wang Wei postponed the next court meeting until these people left. He knew he could not hide the court from the upper dimension, but he also did not want any possible complications with these people's presence as they learned more about how things operate. During the next 200 years, these descending emperors focused on creating their secret vaults or establishing a foundation for their factions, including creating special training secret realms or leaving some rare resources they bought or borrowed from the rebellion. The first to leave 20 years later was Yin General Wang Wei had many deep exchanges with him during the entire time, and they learned from each other. He had great respect for Yin Zhen, so he offered to teach him his ancestors' evading technique as a way to save his life in the upcoming war. He only asked the latter to promise not to pass it to someone else. However, Yin Zhen refused and Wang Wei accepted his decision. The next person to leave was Jing Wuhua, followed by Zhen Biyu and Jiang Wushuang. Yang Guowei and Xiao Songxi had to wait to leave with Lin Fan. In the meantime, the former patriarch of the Baishi clan came to see Wang Wei before leaving, giving him the promised gifts for looking at his family. Xiao Songxi was generous in his gift as he handed Wang Wei 5 Grand Tao Source seeds and 10 immortal mansions. The origin of these things was the dead body of the Baishi clan, to which he sacrificed their bodies, souls, inner worlds and immortal qi to create these things. His action allowed him to establish quite the foundation for the Great Yi dynasty before leaving. The last remaining one was Lin Fan, who wanted to spend as much time as possible with his wife. Wang Wei summoned them before he left. On account of my friendship with her, I thought I should warn you, said Wang Wei looking at these two from his throne. Do you remember the last technique you used during your battle against Ingen? You mean the projection I summoned? Yes. I almost died trying to divine information about them, and the only thing I found was the name Chaos Demon God. And, Primordial Demon God was changed to Chaos Demon God. Lin Fan frowned as he understood the severity of these words. What are you trying to say? In this universe, the cruel truth is that everyone is someone else's pawn. Including you? Asked Lin Fan. Yes, including me. I never thought someone like you who pursues freedom would accept such a thing. Because I know there is nothing my current self can do about it, because I know accepting the fact and slowly playing the game is the only way to escape and become a chess player. I understand. Emperor Enlightening Academy, what are you thinking? Asked Su Shi. It had been a few hours since the meeting and she still had not processed what had happened. She knew this truth that Wang Wei said to him, but it was an entirely different implication coming from his mouth. Many things have started to make sense, said Lin Fan. My overwhelming affinity with chaos or my obsession with that Tao. He could not help reevaluate everything in his life and had to force himself. Otherwise he would definitely overthink certain things. Do you think it's that bad? Everything looks normal and reasonable. But isn't that the point? If he was treated someone as a pawn, he would, of course, ensure there was no flaw. So, what are you going to do? Take his advice, replied Lin Fan. Accept this fact, continue along my cultivation journey while keeping my eyes open. This is not as easy to do as you state. I know this. Every fiber of his being was screaming to change his Tao and abandon his physique immediately. However, he knew doing something so drastic could result in even more catastrophic results. For a chess player, there is no value to a pawn who becomes aware and tries to rebel forcefully. In such a scenario, the best course of action would be to correct the pawn's path or eliminate it. Furthermore, was it easy to abandon Chaos Tao? Obsessions are called as such for a reason. At the 180 years mark, Lin Fan finally ascended. Although he wanted to wait until the last minute, he did not want to risk true heavenly Daos ire. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1039 Old Acquaintance. After returning to the upper dimension, Lin Fan and the other two did not immediately return to the rebellion. They instead contacted Emperor Kong and the Academy using a sensitive code word, as Wang Wei suggested. Do you think it will work? Asked Yang Guowei. It should, replied Xiao Songxi. Why don't we ask the others if it worked for him? All right. Lin Fan sent a message to the people who had already ascended. A few minutes later he received a reply. It's Yin Zhen, declared Lin Fan. According to him, his sect soon sent someone to contact him after using the same code word. Now they have established initial contact. Really? What about the others? They haven't responded yet, but it should be the same for them, replied Lin Fan, who chose to wait a while. As luck would have it, someone did contact him by sending him a secret location and password. Lin Fan did not hesitate and headed to that destination. This hideout led him to teleport across multiple continents and dimensions before they finally reached a large mansion, and by that time he had no idea where he was. Someone was waiting for them at the mansion's entrance, so Lin Fan and the others followed. Midway through their journey they encountered someone unexpected. Headmaster? Called Lin Fan as he looked at the gentle and prose gentleman before him. He'll take over from here. Bai Han dismissed the guide before concentrating on the group. Lin Fan, long time no see. I thought you were dead or something. Well, you probably were not the only one, replied Bai Han. His forced ascension was definitely the kind of news the Academy would want to hide and not make public. What exactly is going on? I thought Su Shi was the Academy's emperor. And why are there so many emperors in one generation? What happened to Wang Wei? A lot has happened. If you don't mind, I would like to explain everything immediately after seeing the founder. That's fine. I should not be in a rush. Let's go, I will take you to see my father. The team followed Bai Han to a large room with a handsome middle-aged man with a noble and wise aura. He sat on a cushion with a small table before him, followed by 4 seats and tables -1 next to him and 3 before him. Bai Han sat beside his father, and the other 3 sat opposite this legendary character. I apologize that I could not meet you beforehand, said Emperor Kong. We understand how complicated the current situation is, replied Lin Fan, who was feeling slightly nervous. Although the founder was not releasing any aura, his presence as an everlasting Empyrean was still noticeable or palpable. The teacups before everyone operated independently and served everybody. Why don't you start from the beginning? Lin Fan did not hesitate to tell Emperor Kong everything, starting from his death, his revival, Wang Wei's coronation, the appearance of the Heavenly Court, their contact with the rebellion, the deal, their dissension, and the information Wang Wei provided them. Is that so? Many things are making more sense now, muttered Emperor Kong. With history hidden by these people, he lacked many significant pieces of information. Although he discovered and deduced a few things, he was missing the larger picture, until now. Such information will fundamentally affect how he operates from now on. So, I was right about him. Emperor Kong looked at his son and frowned slightly. Haven't you moved on after so long? Didn't you hear what he said about Wang Wei? I was right to worry about him. So what if you were right? Does that mean your actions were justified? Bai Han quieted down. You heard yourself. If not for the diplomatic means of young Su Shi, who knows what that kid would have done to my academy because of you. Bai Han had no rebuttal for these words, so Emperor Kong changed the subject. He knew his sons had two knots in his heart. His mother and Wang Wei, his actions towards the latter to be precise. After seeing the former, Bai Han's attitude toward him changed and even improved after he proved the Tao to become an eternal emperor. If he cannot change his ways, I will remove him as my successor, thought Emperor Kong. His son's talent was slightly better than before he ascended, so he only achieved the one-fold battle realm after proving the Tao. Over the years with his training, he reached threefold but was soon approaching his limit and needed to use more drastic means. Previously he had to worry about his successor. Although the world called him a sage, he was also human with emotions and could not be impartial in certain things, for example, regarding his legacy. The academy had many talented individuals, but Emperor Kong wanted someone from the exact same origin as him to be his successor. Luckily heaven brought him Su Shi and Lin Fan. Not only were their strengths better, but their managerial and tactical mind appeared better than his son. Let's continue to observe for now, he concluded. If he wanted to cultivate a top paragon lineage, such a decision could not be made lightly. Anyway, he was still young and not hurrying to retire. By any chance, do you know how Wang Wei knows all this information? We don't. After we descended, he summoned us and gave us the news. He never mentioned the source. Could he be the destined one? Destined one? There have long been rumors that someone would inherit the destiny to end this terrible era, replied Emperor Kong. Moreover, this type of destiny is not as simple as it seems. Half-step transcendence? 3 words that many people in the world would pay any price to know their meaning. Now that he knew its implications, the world's situation became more severe. You should tell your friends to be extra careful, said Emperor Kong. Of what? The Earth Emperor, he replied. After succeeding in acquiring a small portion of the Earth Emperor Karma position, he has been obsessed with the others. Although the Qinseng court disappeared, he at least has an inkling of where to search, but he has always been confused about the Heavenly Emperor's position. So, if he learned you guys knew something, he would go to extreme lengths to get his hands on it. Lin Fan frowned. Su Shi told me these people sent spies in the lower dimension. A while ago, news about the court was leaked to otherworld communities. So, it's only a matter of time before they learn something, muttered Empyrean Kong. This could be a problem. Technically speaking, no news should bypass true heavenly Daos blockade, but the presence of these people showed this fact was not absolute. I will help you and your friends protect the information in your mind, but you should understand my ability is limited when it comes to certain people. We are grateful you're willing to help, swiftly said Xiao Songshi as he cupped his hands and bowed. Yang Guowei followed and imitated him. Emperor Kong nodded. Unfortunately, I cannot do anything about your contract with them. It's all right, Ancestor. We were already prepared to participate in this fight, reassured Lin Fan. It's good to have such a mindset. I have provided information and support to many individuals in their cause. You can contact them if you need anything. Thank you, Ancestor. Lastly, don't ever fully trust Empyrean Jimin, warned Emperor Kong. Who's that? He's the official leader of the rebellion, he explained. He's a man of many faces, literally. Although I don't doubt his dedication to ending this era of oppression, he's also a very ambitious and greedy man, so don't ever put your full trust in him. We understand. Emperor Kong placed a potent seal in their souls before dismissing Xiao Songshi and Yang Guowei. He spent the next few days learning more about Lin Fan before sending him away. Su Junyao should know about this news, thought Emperor Kong. More than 50 million years ago, after she became an everlasting Empyrean, they began planning a major event that involved a celebration. They knew they could not hide her breakthrough and prepared for when the news leaked. Afterward, Su Junyao would declare to the world that she would celebrate her party to lure some people to attend. However, Emperor Kong felt it was best to inform her of this new information as it could affect the overall plan. Now that these moons were occupied with foreign threats to their power, it was the best time to plot underneath their nose. Should we wait until the destined one ascends to make a move? Contemplated Emperor Kong. He knew their chances of succeeding would drastically improve if they had fate or destiny on their side. Let me talk to her before making a decision. He secretly left the mansion. Things were proceeding faster than he anticipated, and he did not know whether this was a good or bad thing. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 10 44th Court Meeting. How is it? Asked Pei Lang, calmly glancing at Old Ma in the communication array before him. Lin Fan has returned, and he's like the others, with a powerful seal in his soul. Even Yang Guowei and Xiao Songxi? Yes. It appeared that Kong might have intervened and helped them. I see. What do you think these people are hiding? It could just be that they're just being cautious. Even you don't believe these words, sneered Pei Lang. Previously, these people had no direct contact with their faction, but everything changed after their return. Some of these factions even sent warnings toward their cause, telling them to treat their members with better care. It's obvious they've brought a piece of information that is beyond valuable. An intense killing intent flashed in Pei Lang's eyes as he contemplated eliminating these people. Instead of becoming his aide, they've turned into unknown and uncontrollable variables, and he was unhappy about this. However, the contract they signed indicated he could not intently attack his own people. Furthermore, other people in the cause did not like him and would take this opportunity to deal with him if he attacked them, not to mention the factions behind these people. I also have to consider their relationship with the Destined One. Becoming the enemy of someone protected by fate is a foolish choice in these circumstances, thought Pei Lang, who successfully convinced himself to calm down. Anything else to report? Some of our men have spotted movement from Kong. He might have contacted some of his people. He values Lin Fan this much? It appeared so. Any sign the Dao opening sect has also intervened in this fiasco? Pei Lang knew the source of these people's changes was most likely Emperor Wang in the lower dimension despite no concrete proof. He might be the source of this valuable information. So far no. At least there was some good news. Pei Lang grunted softly. Where are Yang Guowei and Xiao Songxi? Do you still want to convince them? They are the best chance I have to learn what they know. More than an hour later, Pei Lang closed the communication array with red eyes. His attempt was futile as none of them were willing to speak about what they knew, even with promises of immense wealth and resources. Yang Guowei remained mostly quiet while Xiao Songxi spoke nonsense. He seemed to insinuate he would sell the information in exchange for a paragon. Pei Lang was unsure, but if he was, he knew this lad was mad if he thought such a deal would succeed. He had to control every urge in his body to not secretly send these people on a suicide mission. He exhaled as he realized what he must do: become a paragon. If he succeeds, his power in the cause and the world will drastically increase. Whatever news these two hid will not be kept from his eyes by then. He might be reluctant to attack the others, but he won't have the same restraint against Lin Fan and the other three. Although these people are busy, they would definitely attack me during the process. So, my biggest worry is not the breakthrough but the battle during and after. That's what I must prepare for. With his foundation, once he becomes a paragon, he should not have any issue fighting one or two of these people. However, he will definitely lose if there are more, and if Time Eater shows up, death is the only fate awaiting him. I need to time the breakthrough perfectly so that he cannot show up or prepare a way to keep him busy. Pei Lang's eyes were deep as he planned his future. The way of Paragon was so close yet rife with adversity and challenges. Regardless, this was his only way forward. Myriad Emperor World, Heavenly Court. More than a month after these descending Eternal left, the Heavenly Emperor summoned the fourth meeting. Everyone important participated, including Tong Rubing's clone and Feng Heng's projection. Before we begin, you can bring up any issue of your own, declared Wang Wei, and people looked at the Sea clan from the corner of their eyes. However, the representative looked calm, as if nothing happening was not related to him. I have something to say. Su Shi stepped forward. Oh, I'm all ears. I would like to become a permanent resident in the court. Wang Wei's eyes immediately lit up. What great news. Welcome. Since you're officially the first, I will prepare the room with the most amount of innate qi and the best blessing of luck. Thank you, Your Majesty. Everyone looked at Su Shi with shock before a sense of haste rushed into their minds. The pieces had already fallen into place. Now it was only a matter of time before the court was lively, and all top powerhouses were under His Majesty's eyes. What good news to start the meeting. Anything else? No one said anything since they could not make such a bold decision on the spot. However, people understood certain things were inevitable. Wang Wei looked at the Origin Weapon Mountain's representative. What about my project? We are making great progress and are now 70% finished. 70%? That's a lot of progress, assuming you're not lying. Keep up the good work and finish in a timely manner. The representative bowed. He knew why he was singled out on this occasion. To display a close relationship between his faction and the court, thus elevating them politically, and to pressure them into finishing the project as soon as possible. The managerial tactic of praise and beating has been popular amongst mortal and fortune rulers since time immemorial. For today's meeting, we have a major and minor plan to discuss, continued Wang Wei. For the minor part, I present to you the National Preservation Library. Wang Wei snapped his finger and a projection of a snow-white building materialized in the room. Everyone could tell its purpose was to preserve scriptures or a general form of knowledge, but they also knew it could never be so simple. There must be a bigger plot or meaning behind the appearance of this thing. This library, as of now, contained all the heritage of the Tao opening sect. Perfect copies of all our techniques, emperor scripture, pill recipes and all other profession knowledge, our history and much more, calmly stated Wang Wei, making many people looked at that projection with such greed that they almost salivated. Its purpose is to preserve our inheritance or lineage in case of a cultivation-destroying catastrophe, just like the Null Era. If something were to happen to Myriad Emperor World and the cultivation civilization was destroyed and had to start over, this library would preserve our knowledge and pass it on to the future. I invite many of you to preserve your inheritance on it. Damn this conniving emperor, thought Ao Shen. If something similar to the Null Era happens in the future, the world will revert to a period similar to the ancient Emperor Era, where people competed to spread a new system and for titles like Pill or Talisman Ancestor. More importantly, the current factions that hold these titles or recognition would lose the luck and protection that comes with it, unless they can preserve everything in that library. Such an act appeared that Wang Wei was preparing for the worst possible outcome, but the truth is he wanted to preserve the Tao opening sect's luck from the Tao Father title. Ao Shen secretly gritted his teeth. According to the future he envisioned and prepared for the demon race, they had to wait until the heavenly era crashed and burned. He knew such a vibrant and prosperous era would not last forever. Based on the balanced operation of the world, the more prosperous this era is, the harder its fallout will be to balance things out. By then, civilization might have to start over, which will be the demon race's opportunity. They can compete for the position of the world's protagonist and successfully dominate this plane. Alas, his vision might be nothing but a dream now. I agree to preserve the ancient clan's inheritance in the library. Feng Huang was the first to speak. Such a plan benefited them the most. In a future calamity of this scale, the chances of their clan preserving all their memorialized qi luck were the lowest. In fact, it would be in Heavenly Dao's best interest to eliminate them and allow new individuals to hold these memorialized qi luck, and this library was the perfect way to prevent that from happening. We also agree, said Tong Ruobing, followed by Wu Ming, who represented the Origin Rune Palace, and the representatives from the Origin Pill Dao sect, Origin Weapon Mountain, the Body Dao Cave, and Feng Heng, who also wanted to preserve Buddhism. They immediately thanked His Majesty for his grace and considerations. Wang Wei accepted their words before continuing, expect resistance from the citizens of this world. As you know, no cultivators will accept foreign intervention in their worlds, even positive changes. He snapped his finger to manifest information talismans to every representative. This is a guideline created by the court for interacting with the natives. As you can see, at least 5% of the god positions must be granted to the natives to facilitate peaceful communication and existence. Personally, I think that number should be between 15 to 20%, especially in Greater Thousand Worlds with a relatively high power ceiling. Wang Wei paused to give these people time to read the information and process his words. As you can see, there is a highlighted clause about the consequences of creating a child of destiny. Everyone focused on that section. If a child of destiny is created due to your brutal rule over these worlds, the court will fine you a heavy sum, and in the worst-case scenario, your right to govern such a world will be revoked. If a destined individual is created solely because of a world's heavenly Taoist counterattack or unwillingness to be subjugated, there will be no penalties. Wang Wei snapped his finger to show them a particular room with a crystal ball at the center. This is an artifact I created to keep track of the birth of any child of destiny in the lower realm. We will vote on a special task force team in charge of observing and investigating their appearances. Wang Wei knew not to underestimate any child of destiny as they could be the catalyst to end his era. So, he was extra prepared for the appearance of these people. He gazed at the back again to address the non-emperor lineages. The supreme lands with quasi-emperors have the choice to control greater thousand worlds. Don't worry, they are not planes with any immortal tier powerhouses. However, you also have to consider the fact that these worlds can give birth to talented individuals who can challenge their realms. If you choose a greater thousand world as your territory and fail to appease the chaos, you can ask the court for help and pay a steep price. After he said these words, only a few factions accepted this offer, and they were the top-of-the-line supreme lands with a few quasi-emperors. These supreme lands were on the verge of collecting enough merit points to exchange for an immortal mansion and ascending to the level of an immortal lineage. N0V3LTR0V served as the original host for this chapter's release on N0V3LB1. Wang Wei did not comment on these people's choices. After all, they had to be responsible for their destinies. After you arrive at your territory, appease the chaos and choose your god positions, the next step is to elevate the mortal civilizations. But that did not mean he would also allow Buddhism to grow unrestrained. This poor monk is not greedy. Feng Heng knew he only needed to exchange a few god positions with others in a few key worlds to ensure Buddhism's power was not too scattered and everything else would be alright. Any more questions? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. The Heavenly Emperor has reverted the environment to innate and upgraded the origin system. The new systems can allow you to live for over 100 million. These four almost salivated after hearing these words, especially the medicine saint. He was the oldest of the group and would soon run out of lifespan. So, if the promise of becoming a quasi-emperor was enough to sell his soul, traveling to the myriad emperor world and upgrading to this new system blew his mind. He decided to take advantage of this situation no matter what. Kai Renshu exhaled deeply to calm down. I know these things are used to lure us, but even still, I have to admit I am more than tempted. Lastly, there is access to the dream world, continued Su Shi. I won't explain since you will understand after accessing it. Close your eyes and say, Dream Incarnate. The group found themselves in a strange and ethereal space. A spirit appeared before them to explain all the dream world's abilities. Su Shi listened attentively and was slightly surprised the people from the lower realm had the exact same access as the people back home. I thought he would at least hide some information like his new upgraded origin system. However, as soon as she had that thought, Su Shi realized how stupid it was. Without the innate environment, the new system is basically useless. She looked at these excited leaders. I finally see hope, uttered Medicine Saint. With the cultivation simulation he can practice his Tao ancestor tribulation until he's confident he can pass. And with the merit he will receive, he finally sees the hope of achieving immortality. Let's go, we still have work to do, ordered Su Shi. Everyone returned to the throne room. She summoned a middle-aged teacher holding a fan. This is Teacher Fu Rong. She will be the main god of this world. She will handle all affairs of the court. These leaders immediately bowed as they sensed the aura of immortality emanating from her. Get up. Believe it or not, We all have one purpose: better serve the court, said Fu Rong in a calm and reassuring voice. As members of the court, everything is not about benefit. You have duties, continued Su Shi. Your main focus will be to raise the civilization of mortals. She sent the information into their mind about how to cultivate mortals. She even created deadlines for these people to ensure they completed everything in a timely manner. However, once she finished, the room became eerily quiet. Is there a problem? Your Majesty, is this really necessary? Asked the great Shui ruler. Yes, and this task is more important than you can imagine. Her words were direct and severe. The rise of mortal civilization was the main way for their academy to gather merit. The enlightening temples are off limits. She cannot or will not create demon schools since that's a thankless job. She can leave it to Ao Shen to go to all the trouble since he's the one benefiting. Ho Champu smiled wryly. He never cared about mortals, even though they comprised most of his dynasty. His job was to ensure they were fed, had a home, and did not freeze in the winter. Now he would have to open their mind, which is dangerous since it made them easily prone to revolts, and help them develop military power on par with some of his best armies. He glanced with the corner of his eyes to see these people's reactions. Despite their displayed calmness, he knew none of them were happy with the idea of empowering mortals. You guys need to prepare for the eventual rise of mortals, added Fu Rong. Once the court's duties are completed, they will have the power to balance mortal cultivators. Teacher Fu Rong is correct, stated Su Shi. You need to quickly accept that the world will no longer be as it used to be. The sooner you accept this fact and adapt, the higher your chances of preserving your past strength, power, and privileges. Her voice echoed in their mind. Additionally, I must warn you. The rise of mortal civilizations involved my personal benefit. Do not do anything stupid to affect it, understand? Understand, they replied swiftly. Good. We will summon mortals from our world to better facilitate the extreme changes that are about to occur. Treat them with respect and kindness. As citizens of the court, they are protected. You can imagine what will happen to you if someone purposely hurts them. Su Shi saw they were listening attentively, so she continued, The dream world will not be open publicly as of yet. I will grant you permission to spread amongst your people if you so wish. This world's mortals were not ready for the dream world. Any question? I have an inquiry, Your Majesty, spoke Kai Rinshu. Speak. Does the court's rules prevent members from confronting each other? As long as you don't stop your duty or let your fight affect the mortals, we will not intervene, explained Su Shi. If you want, you can settle your dispute in the battle tower to reduce the loss of resources and manpower. It's a binding agreement that is reinforced. I see, Kai Rinshu replied with twinkling eyes. He cupped his hands and bowed before stepping back. Your Majesty, I just want to know who this heavenly emperor you speak so highly of is, asked the medicine saint. You only need to know he's someone that even I must honor. Su Shi dismissed the team before glancing at teacher Fu Rong. I will leave the task of contacting others and establishing the academy's branch to you. There shouldn't be a problem, right? No issue, headmaster. Good, she nodded before looking in the distance. I have glimpsed at this world's many possible futures. You only need to keep an eye on that Su dynasty ruler, and everything should proceed relatively smoothly. I will keep that in mind, replied teacher Fu Rong with great seriousness. From now on, that little ruler will not leave her sight. Su Shi nodded before leaving to supervise other worlds' expeditions. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1044 Different World Situation 3. Teacher Fu Rong's eyes focused on 4 locations in this world, each entrenched in the territory of this world's 4 overlords. She saw 4 pillars emanating intense Tao rhymes. These pillars were the source of this world's name and could help cultivators comprehend the law. Their existence has been the source of strife or competition since this world's creation. Should I put them under the Academy's care? She contemplated. Although these pillars served no purpose for her, they were still rare resources for void-shattering realm and saint cultivators. Forget it. Since they left alone, I should do the same, she thought as she looked in the distance. One thing she immediately noticed after descending to this plane was the existence of a branch of the Tao opening sect. She was not surprised as their sect had discovered countless branches in other worlds during their effort to prepare for this upcoming expansion. So, they knew the Tao opening sect had already spread their tentacles to the lower realm and drastically increased their chi luck in the process. Now the academy had to play catch-up. Luckily, the Heavenly Emperor allowed them access to this community's map and did not intervene in their expansion. Fu Rong focused on her task at hand, monitoring the progress of these people regarding the headmaster's task. Northern Su Dynasty, Kai Renshu sat on his throne, deep in thought. His plan was suddenly disrupted. If these people did not show up, he was confident in overthrowing the Great Shui dynasty, convincing the Moon Saintess to form a marriage alliance with him before forcing the Alchemy Valley to become his subordinate. Sadly, fate played a cruel joke on him by drastically changing the situation. Now he had to contemplate his future and how to proceed. Before all of this, the other two leaned slightly on my side because of the deep foundation of Great Shui and how they've been ruling this world. They did not show open support to me because they wanted to weaken my strength and ensure I would not become the next Great Shui. Kai Renshu frowned. Now the situation is reversed. My ambitions and ability have become torn in their eyes. The appearance of the court meant an opportunity for greater strength and power, and the medicine saint and moon saintess did not want someone as talented as him to use this opportunity to rise above them. In other words, their support will shift to Great Shui. If I don't navigate things clearly, they will band together and eliminate me. Many thoughts flashed in his mind as he pondered the best move to make to achieve his goal of world domination. Become a core member of whatever factions the Empress is from, he concluded. With their support, it's a simple matter to rule this world, not to mention the protection and resources of such a faction. I might even have a chance to. An otherworldly beauty appeared in his mind, and the feeling to possess her at all costs resurfaced. Then, a shiver ran down his spine as he remembered that gaze. He smiled wryly as he realized he could not blaspheme her even when she was absent. I don't think I would lose to the top geniuses in the Heavenwell world. So, wouldn't it be easy to get their notice? The only problem is my identity and background. Sex only accepted young children to train their loyalty. It might be a problem because of his age. Let's see what happens. However, there is no need to hurry. I can also see if I can find the origin of that Tao opening sect. Before all this, only one thing used to worry him: the appearance of that strange sect. Kai Renshu summoned his officials to discuss how to proceed with the task he was given. His train of thought is doing a great job on this task, which might be his way of joining these people. Grand Ocean World. After descending into this world, Feng Heng followed the same step as Su Shi, summoning all the top leaders. However, the power dynamic of this great thousand world was more complicated than that of the Four Pillars world. This world was divided into countless islands, whose sizes are incomprehensible and should not be labeled as such. However, because there is no single piece of connected or continuous land, continent, everything is labeled as an island. An island lord rules each island, and this title is not just one that dictates the locale. The natives of this world created a slightly unique path of the origin system through the use of the island. An island lord can connect their soul, law, and primarily, their domain to their controlled territory, draw power from it, and boost their strength. On their island, the lord has absolute power because of the boost. Because of this ability, all territories in this plane are extremely valuable and sought after. The bigger the territory, the stronger the boost, and thus the more valuable the island. After arriving, Feng Heng manifested a towering golden Buddha visible to the entire world before summoning the Supreme Ten, the 10 most powerful island lords with the largest territories. Respect to the Venerable Buddha. 10x. Feng Heng, who sat on a cushion instead of a throne, calmly looked at these individuals. This poor monk came to land under the order of the Heavenly Emperor to take control, improve the world, bless the life of mortals, and spread my teaching. This is how things will proceed from now on. He instilled in their minds information about the conferred God list, divine positions, and the 20% of their share. He also directly announced to them their duty of elevating the civilizations of mortals. The response of these individuals was less than lukewarm. They looked at each other but did not say a single word. Feng Heng understood why. This world values territory and sovereignty immensely, and his existence was like suddenly announcing he was the island lord king of this world, and they were unwilling to accept such a thing. After all, throughout history, only one man successfully controlled all the islands in the world, and some of these people have been fighting for generations without any success or progress. But now, Feng Heng appeared out of nowhere and took control. If you have any questions you can ask, this poor monk will answer you. Lord Buddha, about our territories? Lady Who asked. Her family had controlled Stormwind Island for over 1,000 generations, and she had worked extremely hard to become this generation's island lord. She did not want to abandon all her power. As long as you accomplish your duties, this poor monk won't interfere with your power, Feng Hing replied calmly. He could hear the collective sigh of relief after these words. Do we have to convert to Buddhism? Of course not. Faith is a personal experience, and this poor monk would never force anyone to believe. These island lords once again felt reassured. Such a mighty being had no need to lie to them. There are other benefits to becoming a member of the court. I have established a point system that will allow you to exchange powerful cultivation techniques or rare resources. With these techniques, you can enter the quasi-emperor realm. These lords finally displayed excitement. What they want the most is strength and territory. However, a few wise individuals gave the Lord Buddha a strange gaze. They understood these techniques were definitely Buddhist scriptures, meaning even if they didn't join Buddhism they would have a karmic connection to it. Do you have any more questions? No one had anything to say. Feng Hung pointed to another monk next to him. This is Monk Fan. He will be the main god of this world and your overseer. If you have any trouble you can address it to him. Fan bowed slightly to these people to show respect while also releasing a silver of his aura. Everyone saluted back. The benefit this poor monk offered is the bare minimum, added Feng Heng. As long as any of you laymen do a good enough job, you can even receive permission to travel to the myriad emperor world and access the path of longevity. After dismissing these people, Feng Hung left Fan to deal with the weaker island lords while his focus was on the sea. He discovered the sea race of this place acted similarly to the one back home and decided to tap into this population. The Heavenly Emperor's actions have shown the benefit, and Feng Hung would not leave this untapped potential untouched. Although he expected some resistance, it was futile before his might despite only sending a projection. Purple Sky World. Ao Shen exhaled deeply, releasing his frustration. As expected, this world resisted his rule after knowing they were from the demon race and had to suppress them. True Heavenly Tao will hold records of people with patents, but these records are not part of an eternal emperor's existence. In simpler terms, Wang Wei would not be able to use his name on the record to revive himself. If someone erased all his history they would not have to worry about True Heavenly Tao's record. Wang Wei's biggest surprise was that Tet changes in innate environment are not an accepted patent since many people had this idea. So, he is prepared to collect payment for anyone who uses the idea from his formation to change their environment. He won't help anyone since he chose the environmental advantage as one of the things he would leave only for the myriad emperor world, but he also won't allow anyone to use his ideas for free. Things have been going so well that I almost forgot this was not Earth. In the cultivation world, one of the fundamental rules is the strong prey on the weak, and Heavenly Tao encourages such practice. Wang Wei shook his head. The only positive of this patent system was the lack of term limits. He can hold this pattern for as long as he lives and even leave for an heir if something happens to him. From now on, the chi luck or blessing from these patents will form another layer of protection for the Tao opening sect. Wang Wei waved his hand to take his merit for this system. He now had to create an independent patent system after taking over the commerce hub. However, such a man-made system is easily susceptible to corruption, unlike if it was under true Heavenly Tao supervision. I don't need to worry too much about the future. I will do my best, but it's up to them to preserve what I leave. He will create a strong and balanced man-made patent system, but it will still be up to the individual to maintain it. Wang Wei was intrigued and decided to see what other people had accepted patents. According to his divination there were a few but only 3 caught his attention. The first one was the person who created a universal language that is still used to this day. All cultivators interacting with different world communities will know 3 languages. Their native language, the Tao language to explain the laws of heaven and earth, and the universal language. Although direct communication through divine sense will also ignore language barriers, people will not easily communicate this way with strangers, so spoken words are still needed. Additionally, some cultivation systems will not develop divine sense until the very late stage, making this issue even more prominent. The other 2 noteworthy patents were the Commerce Hub and the Void Battlefield. The Commerce Hub created a universal currency for the lower dimension, a universal trading system, and even a universal bank. Wang Wei watched how the merit of the Commerce Hub was divided amongst many factions, most of which held high positions at the core of the hub. It would be a nightmare to make such an enemy in the current period of his cultivation journey. Should I just ignore the corpse-selling sect? Contemplated Wang Wei. No, they are one of the greatest unstable variables of my era. They must be eliminated. His eyes became firm and no longer wavered in his decision. He returned to his throne and activated a communication array that displayed a screen. And, previously, the commerce hub scaled to a few hundred world communities. I have officially retconned it to a third of the lower dimension, or more than 1,000 world communities. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. As expected, a small poison cloud symbol on the dull gate made it more vivid, alive, and noble. From what he knew, body refiners must pass 1267 tribulations before opening the gate. That's the minimum requirement, and such a number has a high risk of failure. Failure to open the gate will result in immediate and absolute death. No exceptions to eternal emperors. Empyreans and everlasting will survive with severe injuries to their existence, but will lose the opportunity to walk this path forever. From Wu Hong's notes, he knew this was the same penalty for paragons, and no one is spared if they fail to open the second gate of flesh. Next, let's continue with the other side door Daos, muttered Wang Wei. The Dao or order of Dao chosen for the tests matters. After each test, the flesh will be sublimated after acquiring its indestructible characteristics. That is to say, the body will become even more challenging to destroy and temper. To deal with this issue, Grand Dao, the administrator of this test, will dramatically increase the power of the next Dao. It will not improve the power slightly to a level slightly above a cultivator's tolerance, but an exponential increase. Such a rule makes the tribulation increasingly challenging with more Daos, which is why body refiners who have opened the gate of power are so rare. Wang Wei theorized that when the body had 3 gates, the first gate granted body refiners an infinite lifespan, and this particular tribulation should have been divided into 2 realms, Infant Fiend God and Dragon Phoenix, thus granting people a lot more time to prepare and plan for them. According to the tips the ancient Desolate Emperor gave him, some people will use powerful Daos, like time or destruction, as their first tests. This tactic increases their odds of passing. However, he warned him not to do such a thing and used the fact that some Daos are inherently more powerful than others to better temper his body. According to the latter, there are differences between indestructible Empyreans, and it mainly originated from a cultivator's preparation and foundation before opening the gate. People who leave the outlaw and supreme outlaws as the last parts of their tempering establish a better foundation than the ones who begin with them. Wang Wei followed his tip and began his tribulations with the 800 side doors Dao before proceeding with the 3,000 main Daos. Time passed, and another 6,000 years flashed by without him knowing it. He had passed 400 tribulations and reached the second step in the Dragon Phoenix realm. Sadly, all his previous resources for tempering the body, including those from the Dao burial ground and primordial desolate, were used up. No wonder this path is so difficult, complained Wang Wei. He did not use as many resources as other body refiners because he did not use resources that helped his regeneration, which was a common thing used to aid in the tribulations. The latter became a part of his court, whose entire purpose was to contradict and make things difficult for him. Yishi would not accept such a thing, so he tried eradicating Gao Buqin and his factions. Luckily, Desolate One was his protector and fought with him. Desolate One lost that battle fairly easily, but he also revealed Wang Wei's talisman, forcing Yishi to stop since he did not want to reveal his trump card. Does he want to lure me into his world and use that artifact? Thought Wang Wei with a sneer. Although he could not divine information about Yishi due to the artifact, the Fate Shadow Guard had already infiltrated the upper echelons of the Commerce Hub, so these people's actions did not escape his sight. I've been patient with you because of my worry for Emperor Jia. It seems it's time to stop being cautious and eliminate you. No matter what Emperor Jia hides or does, the truth will be revealed once he deals with He. Wang Wei's gaze shifted to the Star Beast world. He sent words to Tong Ruobing and Mu Lei that they could start spreading the dream world based on their previous agreement. Afterward, a screen appeared before him, and a few seconds later, Wrath's beautiful face appeared wearing a crimson dress. "Why is it so hard to see you?" she asked. "That's not my fault. When I'm available, you're in retreat. When you're free, I'm the busy one," shrugged Wang Wei. "I thought you were avoiding me. And why would I do something like that? Who knows what shady individuals like you do? I feel like you have a warped view of what kind of person I am. No, I see you for what you are. And what is that? It's best that I keep my thoughts out so as not to ruin our acquaintanceship." "I thought we were friends," said Wang Wei with a smile. "Friends? If we are friends, why don't you publicly meet me and announce we are working together?" Wang Wei coughed slightly, a little absurd at this conversation. He felt like he was conversing with his mistress, who grew resentful of her status and wanted a genuine relationship. "Back to the main topic, I've kept my part of the bargain and saved as the remaining devil races," said Wang Wei before summoning a red crystal ball containing a small world. With a wave, he sent it across an infinite distance to her. Wrath held the thing in her hands. "What about the devil gods?" "My property, of course." There were 4 remaining devil gods, and Wrath once exchanged one with him. The remaining 3 were his resources, and he would not hand them over. "I thought we were friends? Shouldn't friends be more gracious or giving? My mother once told me women were born actresses, they can change spots faster than leopards. I'm starting to think she was correct. And is there something wrong with that? You men have your naturally strong physique to survive this world, and we have our changing faces and tears." "Fair point, but let's not discuss this," said Wang Wei. Such a job would fall to true heavenly Tao. His divine will cannot compare to such an entity. The good news is the divine will can act as another form of Tao will or will manifestation, albeit a weaker version, thought Liang Shixian. Another bad news is the method of condensing it, and divine laws is an insurgent technique, meaning that it will not be universal to all god kings. Liang Shixian groaned. Each passing moment further proved to him that his path was not as special as he had envisioned or wished it to be. "It's okay. A part of me already expected this," he told himself. Regardless of the outcome, he would not regret his decision, and that's because his disdain for the emperor path outweighed anything else. The cultivation retreat ended, so Liang Shixian walked out to see Wang Wei waiting for him. "How long has passed?" "Only 5 years passed outside," replied Wang Wei. "I guess I owe you even more." Liang Shixian knew time formation capable of affecting immortals was not simple. "This one is in the house," replied generously. He only saved the latter a few 100,000 years, which was nothing for him. "Are you ready?" "Yes," nodded Liang Shixian firmly before appearing somewhere in the court. He did not stand above the sky in the myriad emperor world, which could be interpreted as rude since he's an outsider. So, the ceremony was somewhere in the court. "Heavenly Tao above, be my witness. Today I, Liang Shixiang, create the sole path to immortality that I dared call the God King path." His voice echoed throughout the world, and a few seconds later, an eye materialized above the sky. The eye of true heavenly Tao manifested, gazing intently at Liang Shixian. Typically, this process would only take a few seconds, but oddly the eye lingered for close to a minute, making Wang Wei frown. Is this related to the previous disappearance of the soul path? He thought. To this day he still has no idea what has happened to that path. The only valuable information he learned from Wu Hong was that some chaos worlds still had the soul path, while others were the same as the eternal ascension world. However, overall, the soul path had drastically decreased in the chaos universe. After what felt like an eternity, visions manifested between heaven and earth as the eye dissipated. Afterward, Liang Shixian's voice traveled throughout the entire lower dimension, alarming the world of a monumental change. Purple merit descended from the sky, and 65% of it went to Liang Shixian while Wang Wei pocketed the rest. But soon afterward, Liang Shixian had to give most of his share to Wang Wei, leaving only 10% for himself. Liang Shixian looked at the small portion left in his hand with a slight headache. But he gritted his teeth and handed another 5% to Wang Wei. "What's this for?" "I want to use your incense to train a few followers. You should have access to some reserve, right?" Chapter 1051 Alternative Soul Foundation. Somewhere in primordial chaos, two titans were clashing non-stop. Then, out of nowhere, Supreme Unity suddenly paused. He immediately realized his mistake and tried to reach it, but it was too late. Maitreya took this opportunity and hit him with a golden palm, drawing a few drops of blood in the corner of his mouth. "You should know better than to be distracted in this kind of battle," she stated before continuing her non-stop offensive. Meanwhile, Supreme Unity had to take a moment to compose himself and control his emotions. The return of the soul path allowed the eternal ascension world to fix a missing part of its existence, which in turn increased true heavenly Daos power and control while reducing his. "I cannot rely too much on Heavenly Book," thought Supreme Unity. "It's time for me to take action." Many powerhouses in the upper dimension felt the soul path's reappearance. They knew that such changes would have worldwide repercussions, but only a few people knew exactly what these were. "Origin Seal Continent, did you feel it?" asked Wu Hong. "Yes, a new soul path," nodded Yen Hai. "This one seems related to divinity instead of a pure soul path." "That's not what I care about. Do you think his influence has been lifted?" "Probably. I mean, there have been signs," replied Yen Hai. "The soul path returned in many chaos worlds, so it's not surprising. I'm just wondering how this will affect the future." "The chaos universe will simply become even more complicated," replied the Sword Empress. "Spirit, essence, chi, and Tao, only with these four things in perfect balance can the universe be perfect. Once that is achieved, many simple things will become complicated. Many things that were once impossible or unauthorized will become common. This time the chaos will truly be impressive," sighed Wu Hong. "The Third Origin War?" said Yen Hai with great fighting intent. "I don't think it will be called like this. If Kishin's conjecture is correct and the kid will be the one who starts the chaos, why can't he use this name? As his ancestor, the least he could do is let me name the event." Wu Hong rolled his eyes. "How are your injuries?" "Great. It won't be long before I won't be a small shrimp of an emperor," replied Yen Hai. "How about it? Want to fight then?" "No, I don't want to embarrass you again. It will be different this time. I have a powerful body and entered a new swordsmanship realm. You're definitely not my opponent." "And do you think I haven't improved?" Wu Hong rebutted. The memories she received from the unknown clone were helpful in more ways than one. Yen Hai looked at her. "Even the slightest improvement is difficult in their current realm but also drastically increases their strength. If you're scared, say so." Wu Hong ignored her and disappeared, making the Sword Empress snort. "No matter what, it won't change the fact you will be my little daughter-in-law." Chu Divine Dynasty. Pei Lang felt the changes between heaven and earth, and many ideas flashed in his mind. The other paths are the backbone soldiers and middle-level officers of the revolution, and having a new path will also mean more variety in their troops. He groaned as he knew he had to attend an official meeting of the dynasty before having the free time to contact old Ma. Without hesitation, he wore his official clothes and headed to the palace. Midway through the voyage, Pei Lang felt a sudden terror overcome his mind. The feeling of dread was so intense that his body was shaking. "What's going on?" He quickly searched for an answer and his face became ugly, an omen of death. His intuition was warning him that death was rapidly approaching. What happened? Was my identity exposed? This was unlikely. Pei Lang was not stupid and knew someone was protecting him. Otherwise, he would never be able to hide from certain individuals. "Calm down," he repeated over his mind while breathing. "No matter the situation, as long as I can become a boundless paragon, my chances of surviving this catastrophe should improve." As Pei Lang attended today's meeting, his facial expression never revealed any anomaly. No one could tell this famous prime minister received a terrifying omen of death. Pei Lang returned home after discussing the issue with the new soul path and immediately contacted old Ma. "Sir, we have good and bad news." "What happened?" "We found old man Tianji, replied Old Ma. I'm assuming that's the good news. What about the bad? Well, we didn't find him per se, but he left a note for you, explained Old Ma before showing him the note, which read, "The pill is both a great fortune and a disaster." Pei Lang's eyes squinted. Diviners always speak in riddles and never direct with their words, a fact that he did not like. However, these words were easy to understand and deduce. The pill itself has no issue, but the process of breaking through will not be simple. Sir, what are you thinking? Asked Old Ma. Don't know. What do you think I should do? The situation is stable, so I don't think you need to rush, said Old Ma. We can take our time to ensure that your breakthrough will be smooth. Pei Lang did not say anything. Typically, such a tactic would be best, but not with death looming over him. He sighed. Things have changed and there is no time for a safe approach. What do you mean? Don't worry about it. I will enter seclusion to prepare for the breakthrough. I will leave a clone for you to contact. Sir, how sure are you? If this were any other time, I would say 80%. But now I don't know. Old Ma was silent momentarily. Take care and be careful. Pei Lang nodded. They discussed how to best utilize this new path and increase their strength. Then you can condense a soul flame using pure soul energy instead of incense. The soul flame should temper your soul beyond the limit and achieve strength on par with Tao ancestors, if not higher. So, it's possible? Asked Yen Liling with shining eyes. As an alchemist, the soul is very important to her, so this way is more compatible to her than the Nine Extremity Foundation. We can try. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.